permission to speak. Shadows hide you. I am listening. Our paths converge.
So good to see you.
Hail to you. Never lose hope.
Here, Fred shouts.
I hear you. It has only begun. Fight on, Fred!
Welcome to episode 484 of Concede, our Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is Thursday, February 13th, 2025 in the evening. Coming to you from Nomergan, Ohio, it's me, Edelweiss. From North Rand, Massachusetts, we have Wicked Good.
Hi.
From Teldrassil, California, we have Megasa.
Hello.
And from all around the world, we have you, dear listeners. This week's episode is brought to you by our producers, Number Theory, Crash, Beef Squatch, David P., Walu, Jeremy T., Battlecaps, Grumpy Monk, The Burger Club, Kirk Regan, Grizzly Bear, May, SSJ5 Goku, and NY Kiwi. And by our patrons of the week, Eamon McGing and Livdera. You can go to patreon.com/coinconcede to get perks like a thank you at the top of the show, early access to new episodes, one-on-one coaching sessions, and help support the show in the process. If you would like to support the show but cannot do so monetarily, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on your podcast feed of choice, as it always helps other people find the show. So, Life and Ladder. I have played some of the same deck that Megasa is going to talk about. It's pretty cool, but still not, doesn't feel like the best thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, honestly, the deck we talked about last week, the Warlock, play that. It's good. It's real good.
It's especially if you want to kill shamans, because you're seeing a ton of them. Yeah, I've been seeing surprisingly few warlocks, but that's not because it's not good. And that certainly was also on the Vicious Syndicate report as a good thing to play.
Yeah, it's funny. They really talked it up, and I maybe saw a brief uptick in warlocks. And then I don't know if people were like, yeah, I could do this, but it doesn't interest me, or what exactly. But yeah, not back to not seeing too many warlocks. So yeah, I mean, kind of, if I hadn't played so much of it already, I probably would be more interested. There's still things I want to try, but of course they're not performing super well. But yeah, I feel like warlock is probably the, hey, I want to play some Hearthstone. I also want to win some games. And do something that I'm not going to run into too many mirrors, and it feels pretty good as long as I don't run into rogues. So
yeah, well, that other deck that we've been playing is Protoss Priest, but also we're hitting people in the face. So it's still there's what was the Pain Priest that now Vicious Syndicate was calling Zealot Priest, which is probably accurate because it's less of the Pain package. That just runs the Zealot's charge. This is a Protoss Priest that runs Mothership, but also it runs Overzealous Healer and Orbital Halo and Fishing Rod. That gets you, not only can it get you Overzealous Healer and Miracle Salesman, but also if you have 1 discount, it'll get you Sentry. If you have 2 discounts, it'll get you Void Ray.
The moment I realized that, I was so excited. It was just a little bit of synergy that had not connected until I just had a game where I, hit something with Photon Cannon to get the one-time discount. And then I was like, oh, well, I don't know that there's anything left to pull. And I swing with the weapon and it pulls out the Sentry. And I'm like, oh, hey, look at that.
It's pretty neat. I didn't realize that at first just looking at the deck list either. And someone in the Discord was like, oh, no, this is why the Fishing Rod's in the deck. I actually found the deck because I was sitting there playing Shaman, minding my own business, and I ran into someone who was playing Protoss Priest, and I thought, great, they're playing Protoss Priest, and then they just killed me right out of the gate really fast with Orbital Halos, and I was like, what is this? So I immediately friended them. They didn't reply for a while, probably because they thought I wanted to flame them. But then today they accepted and said, oh, hey, I thought you were going to flame me, but then I realized you're Megasa from Concede.
It helps, right?
It totally helps. So shout out to CTMU3. Because of you, I went on to HS Guru and found what I believe is the same list, which is also the same list that is in the Vicious Syndicate report today. and I've been having a great time with it. It's definitely gotten more popular. Even before the report came out, I think people would see it and then pick it up because they were like, I can hit people in the face and play Mothership. It's kind of a weird aggro deck because you do have early pressure, but you're also using that just to not die because we don't really have AoE. And you're trying to get any draw that you can. That, of course, is the big Achilles heel of the deck because it's a priest deck.
That goes for every priest over the last year or so, I suppose. But yeah.
Exactly. So you do need to be careful about your gold panners and stuff like that. I lost a game that I so should have won earlier today because I didn't take a gold panner off of a bird watching because I thought, they're almost dead. They got down to 2. I mean, I had like the best start ever. I had Overzealous Healer, coin, play another Overzealous Healer, Orbital Halo on the first Overzealous Healer, so you have a 5/4 Divine Shield and a 3/3 on turn 1. I lost with that opening. So it is possible to have that happen, but often you can go late, and then once you get the Mothership down, there's just all kinds of shenanigans that you can do. You can win with Archons, you can win with a lot of whatever you get, and even if the Shaman at that point, or whoever now has a wide board, Archons or the Colossus do AoE, so you can kind of win over the top. It's okay if they get a wide board later. And a lot of close games, I would say it's probably top of tier 3. I do have a positive win rate with it, but it doesn't feel like a meta breaker. But it is really fun. So if you like tempo decks, but also you've been wanting to play Mothership, or just you've really been wanting to play Mothership, this is the best way to play Mothership, I think. So I do recommend. I was just playing the same list that they have in Vicious Syndicate. In non-Hearthstone news, Wicked got me to buy a commander deck.
Yay!
It's happened.
It's happened. It is.
That's my victory screen, not yours. But yes.
That is such biased sounder work.
Listen, when you run the sound console, you can pick the sounds that get played. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I can technically take it out of the final product, but I'm not sure it's worth it.
You could.
But then the listeners would go, what are they talking about? Where was the sound?
This never happened. That just like the whole thing just gets memory hold if Edel wants it to. So yeah,
it did not happen.
Patrons will know, and that's what's important to me. So
yes. Well, it is a Merfolk deck with Hawkball of the Surging Soul as the commander, and basically you get a ton of ramp, and then you get 1 million Merfolk, and they all get 1 million +1/+1 counters on them kind of all at once. And then you have a few things that'll make it so that your opponents can't block, and then they die. I played some 1v1 versus my brother, which is obviously not really how Commander is meant to be played. So I could be a lot more aggressive without having to worry than you would be in a normal Commander game. But it seemed very powerful. I felt a little bad because he's played a lot more Magic than I have. And he was like showing me some of the ropes. And then he did win some of the games, but I also am pretty good at card games, even if I don't know this one.
Yeah. The skills do transfer. The
skills absolutely do transfer. He also kept switching decks, and I was just like not even paying any attention to what he was doing mostly, except for going, wait, how are you getting Death Touch Assassins? Which card do I need to get rid of the Death Touch Assassins?
So that's the commander experience, so that's fine. You're all set. Okay, good.
And I'm going to try to resist falling into the black hole of Commander, although we'll see. They give you a 2-card booster with the Precon deck. And I open one. One is just an alternate art of a card that's already in the deck. It's kind of cute. It's worth like 3 cents. Whatever. The other one turns out to be a $30 card. Full art, borderless. It's called Roaming Throne for anyone who that means something to. And it is really good for any minion type deck. And it makes it so that all the +1/+1s trigger twice on my Merfolk, basically, is what it does for this deck.
It's Bran is what it is.
It's basically Bran. So that's pretty good. Of course, my brother was immediately like, what is that card? And I need it.
That's how you know you got a good pull. Yeah.
So, but this is how they get you, because you're like, ooh, what's going to be in the next booster pack that I open?
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they get you with that one dopamine hit, and then you're hooked, and then you give them your whole paycheck every week, and it's fine.
Seeking that first booster pack.
Yeah. I didn't. I went to a pre-release and I pulled a like $30 or $40 card in my promo slot, so I was not all that upset. On Friday night, I just opened it up like, oh, okay, that card paid for the pre-release. I'm all good. I don't care what else I open. Okay. But and I threw it into a deck. I ended up building Thief Priest for Commander, so I haven't played it yet because I can't play it on Spell Table. But we'll see how that goes this weekend. But yeah, I played Hunter this week. No,
I saw it happen. It's true. It's true, listeners.
I was on stream. I was trying to play Shaman. It wasn't going well. I ended up trying the Warrior. That went worse. And then Sidisi was in my stream, and I just named the deck Happy Birthday Sid after going through HS Guru. It's not his birthday, by the way. I just named it that because I probably owe him a birthday present at some point. And so that was, but it was not bad. I played it wasn't the hand buff Hunter. I played like a Zerg Discover Hunter, and it worked out pretty well. I mean, I had a positive win rate with it, like barely, but I had a positive win rate with it. And I mean, it's got a bunch of different ways to win, which kind of kept me interested in it. It wasn't just like play, match the numbers, go. Like I mean, not that that's what Shaman is, but it feels like that sometimes. Like you just kind of feel like you're playing what it gives you, and then you're hoping that it's good enough. I know that that's not necessarily an accurate representation, but that's how the games that I was playing with it felt. But this has a few different ways you can do it. You can just you can start generating. I mean, it runs all the locations, so you're running Seaside Giants, and then you can get extra copies of those off the Ragnari Scouts. You can, you have Incendius that you can get an extra copy of and do Incendius things. You can get extra Griftas and get the extra Discovers off the Griftas. Or like I had in one game, I just went on turn 7, just went Zergling, Hydralisk, and they died. And that's also that's also a valid way to play the deck.
That'll happen.
So yeah, so I had fun with it. It was I'm just trying to, I mean, I would love to be playing an actual control deck, and that's just like, I mean, I tried playing the Terran Warrior, it just wasn't working for me. Maybe I just didn't have the right list for what I was facing, but it was, varied enough to keep me interested. So I was pretty happy with that. And I dropped a little bit, but I think I'm still in 11x range, and it's too early to worry about that. So I'm just kind of trying stuff now, because if I start worrying about it before halfway through the month, if I start worrying about it before No Stormu Day, I'm just not going to play. So, I mean, that's assuming that No Stormu Day comes on time this month, of course. But anyway, we are not going to go too much into story time because there's a whole lot that happened in the past, 6 hours.
Yeah.
And it's going to take us a while to unpack. So let's just start talking about that.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
Okay. A couple of things that we're just going to mention and get out of the way quickly, because there's not a whole lot to discuss, and we want to save the time to talk about the things that we do need to discuss. So there was a patch on Wednesday, 31.4.3. There were some minor bug fixes, and they returned one of the Battlegrounds minions to the shop. We'll have a link to the show notes, to the patch notes in the show notes. You can go look at it. There's nothing really super impactful that you need to know about it, but it was a server-side patch, so it just kind of happened. There was an interview with Nathan Lyons-Smith, who's the game director, on Vice. Again, there wasn't anything really revelatory, just kind of talking about how he feels about, the things in the game. And it felt like it was more like an introduction to Hearthstone for somebody who doesn't really play Hearthstone, which, being in Vice, kind of makes sense. So you can go read that. I read through it. There wasn't anything particularly surprising, but it was, good to see him getting his face out there and, getting a little bit more publicity for the game.
Yeah, there was one tiny thing I noticed, which is basically he just said they don't have any current other crossover plans right now.
Yeah.
Which we kind of know because we know what the expansions are for this year.
Yeah.
But
yeah, they could have an event or something, but it's unlikely. So there was a shop update. It's, again, pretty minor. It's adding the StarCraft event heroes into the shop as promised, so you could get the event heroes that you didn't earn, or the one that you did have the track for if you didn't finish all the way through. Those are all $9.99 USD or 1,000 runestones for Queen Tamsin, Thor Thorum, or Archon Voltron. So you can go get those. Also, if you are looking to get any of the other StarCraft skins, you probably want to get those pretty soon, because I think they're going to be leaving the shop, not immediately, but probably in the next week or so. So just if you've been putting that off or you forgot about it, just go ahead and get those before they go out of the shop. Okay. I think we cleared the deck. Because we also got not only a blog post, but a cinematic for Year of the Raptor. So that is something that is happening. You should go watch the cinematic. It's got like a little intro for all three of the expansions. So you see a little bit of Ysera, a little bit of Elise, a little bit of Chromie. Set to a pretty decent song. It kind of harkens back to some of it's not Voyage of the Sunken City. Let's set expectations, but it is pretty good. So you want to go watch that. So there's a blog post, Welcome to Year of the Raptor, with a link to the cinematic trailer in the blog post. And they talk through a bunch of the things that we're going to be expecting over the next few months in particular. Some of them are going to be happening with the next expansion, and some of them are going to be happening a little bit further out. So they lay out a bunch of the roadmap pretty much for the next 3 months, I would say, 3-4 months. So there's going to be an Unleash the Raptor in-game event that starts. It's actually starting. Well, the kickoff log and reveal season for Into the Emerald Dream are starting next week. So we're going to have that to talk about next week. There will be an in-game event in the weeks leading up to the expansion launch. So that'll be, they don't give a date for that, but that is going to be coming in the near future. There's going to be a exclusive minion, which we'll get to in a second. Looks like those are those card backs or packs? I guess those are packs from Into the Emerald Dream. We just haven't seen the packs yet. There's some tavern tickets, there's some random epics that you can get, and then then there's a portrait. It looks like a Death Knight portrait, but they don't really go into the details of what the portrait's going to be. But there's going to be this minion is called Raptor Herald. Presumably they will tell us next week what it is.
What the text says.
It's a 3-mana 4/2 with an empty text box right now. And an empty minion type. So presumably it's a beast because it's a raptor. I think we can probably guess at that, but they have a type bar that's empty. I think they probably could have told us that without giving it away, but whatever. But the box of the text box is empty. But you're going to be able to earn the first part of the event quest will give you 2 vanilla versions of those, and then the third leg will give you goldens. The fourth one will give you goldens. I'm not sure what the golden is on the third wing. There's just kind of a blurry image, and it's hard to tell what's going on. And clearly, they don't want to tell us everything yet. So we could spend endless time speculating, but we have a lot more to talk about. So just you'll see that, and you will know when it happens. Because the new patch, I believe, with the pre-order for the next expansion should be out next week. So I would imagine that may not be launching with that patch, but should be launching, if not then soon after. There will be a new Year of the Raptor game board that will be coming with the launch of Into the Emerald Dream. It's going to appear more frequently than the other boards for the entire year, and it's going to change as the other expansions get released, changing the lighting, the music, and other components.
Well, that's cool, at least.
Yeah, so at least they're kind of giving us one board, but making it themed for each one of the expansions. So that's pretty cool. So that will be the only board this year. I'm pretty sure I've seen that. So this is the board we're getting this year, as they've said to us in the past, but it looks like it's going to be a pretty cool one. So there is a core set update. What do we think of it? We're going to tell you a whole lot about it in Decksplanations, so hold your horses. And I also will add, I'll probably tell you this again in Decksplanations, I put together a page on offcurve.com, which is my personal site, which has a spreadsheet representation, both of what's leaving and staying and changing in core, as well as what is leaving standard when rotation happens. So if you want to see that all laid out in one place, I've also got some swags at what the impact of those cards is going to be based on like how many meta decks they were in and what those meta decks impact, or what those decks were on impact on the meta. So you can go and take a look at that, or read along with that while you're listening. If you're not in the car, please don't bring it up in the car. If you're driving, keep your eyes on the road. But otherwise, you can bring that up and listen to that as long as we're talking. There are 3 new cards that I think is probably good to talk about now, because we may not get to talk about them later, or we may kind of gloss over them. So 2 of them are for Death Knight. We have a 2-mana rare spell called Poison Breath that has no runes, that gives a friendly undead poisonous. We have a 3-mana legendary that's double unholy, called Falric, that says it's a 3-mana 2/4. You can gain twice as many corpses than normal, and Battlecry, draw a card that spends corpses. So unfortunately, this is when CNE is rotating, so you won't get to use this with CNE, except in Wild. But that is something that if we care about spending corpses, and there have been a number of cards that have cared about spending corpses, then this will help you find a corpse spender and get the corpses to play it. And then
could also just be a tutor.
Yeah, it could just be a tutor. Yeah.
Also, I do have to say, it was you gain twice as many corpses than normal is just not how you say that. I'm sorry. Twice as many as normal or more than normal. Anyway.
Yes.
I also teach English. I had to say it. I'm sorry. We can move on.
Yes. I thought something seemed weird about that when I was reading it, and I think my brain didn't allow me to read the actual cards on the text box because of that. But yeah. I'm also married to an English major, so I noticed those things too. There's also a new mage minion, 3-mana 2/4 Babbling Bookcase. Battlecry, add 2 random mage spells to your hand, so it's just like 2 Babbling Books. So you get the Babbling Bookcase. So Babbling Book has not seen a whole lot of play. I don't know that this is going to do better, but it's 2 instead of 1. Maybe, who knows? We'll see. But and to make room for these updates, we've removed some standout cards from last year, including the burst damage and some of the more frustrating effects. Again, we will talk about this in excruciating detail in Decksplanations. So, but that is going to be there. And in patch 32.0, we'll also have our usual wild card reverbs, aka the Franken meta, and some extra updates to cards from last year that are staying in standard to better set the stage for the new standard year. So those that are in core, we'll talk about there. It sounds like they may have some buffs to this year's cards that also would come in then. So we'll find out what happens when that happens. I'm sure we'll talk about that in excruciating detail. But
buffs or get another nerf to Ziliax. We need to get to double digits.
Why not both?
Exactly.
Maybe they'll just rotate him early. Who knows? I mean, I think we probably would have heard. We might have heard about that, but they might save that for then too if they're going to do that. But I don't know. There is a Hearthstone Esports announcement. So this is a note from TJ Sanders, who you will know from casting the Masters Tour and Worlds, who is noted here as Hearthstone Esports consultant and program lead. So that is news that they've hired TJ on as the esports program lead. And he says, this year our goal is to inspire and entertain players of all levels all around the world. 2 seasonal championships and the World Championship will make up the backbone of our competitive system. As we build out our team, another goal for the year is finding ways to get more players and fans to experience the thrill and joy of Hearthstone Esports. It's great to be back, and I can't wait for you to join me. Full competitive rules and more program details are coming soon. So it sounds like we're going to have a similar system to last year, but that as they start getting a team up and running, which, I mean, just there being a team and not just one person is news. As they get a team up and running, that there might be some more opens or other ways for people to participate, which would be a huge boon for us to be able to play the tournament jingle more than once every 4 months or so.
Yeah, what I would really love is to see esports be taken as like what we've kind of known it really is for a while now, which is marketing for the game, right? But rather than using that as a reason to not give it anything, like sort of, I don't know, you use that as a way of like, okay, let's build this from the ground up, because people like it, and like give it some substance so that we can really get people excited and promote the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's player engagement, right? I mean, that's what it is. And like, it's fine. Like, and I think that's something that Riot, when they did their whole, esports like manifesto like a few months ago. That's something that they said, that it's marketing, but it's not marketing for like player acquisition. It's more marketing for player retention.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that we kind of do need, especially as metas start to get stale more quickly, like having like a competitive showcase to kind of show what's possible is kind of something that we haven't really had, except for when we have like a Masters tour. And that's just not often enough. And we don't have opens like dream hacks like we used to. So hopefully this will open the door up for things like that. And that would just be an amazing thing. Like, I was just about ready to start like going to a LAN when COVID happened, and then that was the end of that, right? So hopefully we'll be able to do that, and we'll be able to have LANs again at some point. That would be fantastic. I don't know anything, and we'll have to see how this goes, but hope springs eternal.
Would be nice. And if we don't this year, I feel like this is at least an optimistic sort of turning point, front facing, saying they've hired one of us, right? Someone we've known a long time. And, with the opportunity for growth. So.
Yeah. This is the first that we've heard about TJ in this role. So it's too soon for, them to necessarily have completely revamped this year's system. But it does bode well for maybe we'll have a different system next year. We don't know anything yet, but it does seem more likely than it did before, for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, I think back to like when they hired Abar for esports to run esports, like before esports kind of collapsed, and that wasn't his fault. Right. But
no, not at all.
Like when they were giving him resources, that program was amazing. And then, they just kept taking away resources until he didn't have anything to do. But like when he had resources, he was able to do some pretty cool things with it. So I'm hoping that TJ can do the same. And knowing that it's somebody who knows this environment, it doesn't have to like make a whole lot of assumptions or learn about it, that they know and can hit the ground running, is also a really good thing. So here's hoping, fingers crossed, and all the best of luck to TJ, because, we all need it. So no pressure. So the last part of the announcement talks about timing and roadmap updates. And this is where there's a lot of things that are kind of casually dropped in here, and also some confusing. I mean, I guess it's appropriate with Chromie being in one of the expansions this year that we got some confusing timing things. So it's not quite time for that expansion yet, but that's okay. So a couple things before we get into all the nitty gritty of the patch timing. There will be a pre-release Tavern Brawl for Into the Emerald Dream. So that's something that they asked for feedback, or they got feedback and they made some adjustments, and they're going to continue to tweak it. But it sounds like something that they want to keep doing. I think that was a really great thing that they did for the last expansion. I'm glad to hear them continuing to do it. And I think it's good for everyone to kind of get that pre-release type experience there. And I think the main thing that they're trying to balance is, how do you make this accessible for players who maybe are going to be more free to play, versus how do you have people building decks out of core cards and then stopping everybody, right? Or just out of last year's cards or whatever, or existing cards. I think that's going to be pretty difficult for that to be the way that it is, but we'll see what it happens. So we'll go from there. Looking a little further down the line, we've been working hard on the arena update we teased last year as we refine and polish the experience. We're happy to share that it's currently scheduled to launch in patch 32.2, the first major patch after the expansion. Look for more information about arena closer to when it goes live too. That's all we know. 32.2 is the first major patch. Oh yeah, they said that first major patch after the expansion. So there will be a battleground. I think they say for sure there's going to be a battlegrounds update and the arena refresh in that same patch. So that's going to be a very big patch. And they say, speaking of patch 32.2, it's going to be a huge one. So it's not only going to have the battlegrounds update and the arena revamp, it's also going to have the mini set. The mini set usually doesn't come until the 0.4 patch. So they're kicking off the next expansion cycle one patch earlier in 32.4. So 32.4 is going to be the one that has the pre-order for the next expansion, not 32.6. There's not going to be a 32.6. This is part of a multi-year effort to slightly adjust patch timing to better align with our development and patch cycles. As we've talked about here, the overall Into the Emerald Dream expansion cycle will still have all the usual content beats and then some, and will be about the same calendar length as previous expansion cycles like Titans and Perils in Paradise. Patch 33.0 will return to our normal patch structure and cadence you're used to. So this is just a one-time thing to realign the stars and get them onto the patch schedule that they want to be on. So it's going to be a little bit more compressed, but then we should be back on track and things will take as long as they ought to.
Yeah. What normally happens is we have, 32.0 or whatever 0.0 is when the expansion drops. Whatever 0.2 is Battlegrounds. 0.4 is the mini set. 0.6 is preparing for the next expansion, but that's a little compressed for Into the Emerald Dream. Hopefully this helps with their timing issues like around the holidays later in the year and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, anything that helps them do their jobs better, do their jobs more easily is a good thing for us at the end of the day. So just as they have a recap here and I'll go through it very quickly. So 31.6 is going to be the pre-order bundles and the preview card. They said that that's next week. So they'll have details for all that stuff with the set kickoff next week. That's usually when we get that patch because that's when they want you to start pre-ordering the set as soon as they announce it. So that's when we should get that. 32.0 is when we have rotation. So we'll get wild reverts, we'll get core set changes, we'll get a standard balance patch. The cards from 2 years ago will rotate out, or from last year will rotate out. We'll get the pre-release Tavern Brawl. The individual card grants from the pre-purchase bundles will be granted, and then the Into the Emerald Dream cards will be playable in Arena, and the achievements will be added. And then the release of the new set is usually not until that's expansion launch. That's when we're actually going to get the rotation. So the patch is going to drop. We'll still have all the cards from standard in there, but we're going to get all of the wild reverts. We'll get changes to the standard cards, and then we'll get the new core set.
So Franken-meta.
Franken-meta
for 31.6.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's, the core set card changes, but the core set won't change until the expansion launch. So there are cards that are being buffed for core that we'll also talk about a little bit when we get into core. But though the card changes will take place when the patch drops, the core set additions and removals won't happen until the expansion launch. So when the expansion launches, which is usually about a week later, week and a half later, we're going to get all the Into the Emerald Dreams will be playable in standard and can be crafted. So remember, when you're playing when you're doing the pre-release Tavern Brawl, you can only open up the cards that you've either earned in the event or have pre-purchased. But once the expansion launches, then you can buy with gold and you can craft. Standard expansion rotation will happen. The core set will update. The Year of the Raptor board will get added. We'll get the new rewards track. They'll be updating the new and returning player deck lists, the deck recipes, and there will be new quests, daily and weekly quests that are expansion based. Then in 32.2, which should be about a month or so later, roughly, is usually when we expect that. We'll get new Battleground season, new arena, and the Into the Emerald Dream mini set. And then patch 32.4, which should be about a month after that, will be the next expansion kickoff reveals and pre-purchase and pets, which they just drop in a bullet point.
Yeah. I'm okay with that.
So yeah. So we'll find out more about pets in a couple months, presumably. But that's what the next 3 months are going to.
I'm really excited for the arena update. It's been, in my opinion, a long time coming.
Yeah. Presumably, I mean, I've been doing a lot more drafting in Magic, and I've tried doing some arena runs, and it's just not hitting the same. And I'm hoping that whatever they're doing will make it, because I really do enjoy limited formats. And I just haven't really been an arena enjoyer lately. So I'm hoping that will rekindle it, and maybe I'll become an arena streamer. Who knows if I can't play control standard, but we'll figure that out. But yeah, so that's everything we have to expect. And since we have been talking about core changes and core adds and core removals, why don't we just do that already?
right. So there were, as promised, a lot of changes to core. We have all of the details. There's a bunch of infographics. There is also linked in the show notes and on Wicked's site, offcurve.com, a very helpful spreadsheet of everything that's happening with core, as well as just everything that's leaving standard. It can be hard to remember which card came from which expansion sometimes, what's leaving with rotation, what's staying. So we're going to talk about both core and a little bit generally about rotation and how that might affect. Obviously we don't know what the new cards are from the new expansion, but we can say a lot about what's leaving and what's staying. Yes, it's offcurve.com/Raptor is where you want to go. So how do we want to do this? Just class by class for core?
Yeah, we probably ought to start with the neutrals, right? Because the neutrals are going to affect everything. And then we're only, and then we can go and kind of go class by class with that in mind, right?
Yeah. So I'm not going to necessarily read every single thing, but there are a lot of cards leaving. Some of the cards that are leaving that are notable are the dragons. So like Alexstrasza, Malygos, Onyxia, Ysera are all leaving. I would imagine probably because we're getting new versions of that for the Emerald Dream, at least Ysera.
Yeah, I would imagine a lot of the legendary dragons we would just get new named versions of, so they probably don't want to have more than one of those. I mean, not that they're like opposed to that necessarily, but they don't necessarily want to have like multiple Yseras, multiple Alexstrazzas if they're supposed to be just like, this is Alexstrasza or this is Ysera, who's, standard.
Right. You want to just be able to say Alexstrasza without worrying about which one, for example. So we're also losing Leroy Jenkins and Salcy Deckhand, so the neutral charge. That was certainly something we saw mostly in Handbuff this year, but that was a big deal when it came in, so we will not have that anymore. We will also not have mind control tech. Yay! So that, I think, most people would agree is just a good thing. We will not have the giants. So no molten giants, mountain giants, sea giant. I guess that's not all of the giants, but those are 3 giants that are leaving, as well as Warsong Grunt is out. So no more Grunter Hunter. Wandmaker is out. And Snowflipper Penguin is out in favor of Wisp, which is kind of sad.
Also, Zola the Gorgon is going
out.
Also,
Zola. That's a notable one as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's just out of core. I mean, we have other things that I don't know if we want to talk about everything that's leaving standard just for neutrals in general. Like, not everything, but like the things that are notable, right? I don't know if we want to do that now or if we want to cover all of core first, but.
Let's see. I mean, yeah, we can talk about sort of notable things that are leaving altogether. So other cards that are not from core but that are leaving that are notable: ETC, Fizzle. So you don't have to worry about, I mean, not that we had to worry about Infinite, but you don't have to worry about Fizzle at all very soon. No sort of sideboard with ETC is a bit sad. I was wondering whether they might put him into core, but I also understand not doing that.
Yeah.
No Yogg-Saron Unleashed.
Yay.
Yes, that's also a yay. No Ignis, no Celestial Protectionist, no Reno Lone Ranger. We were all very aware that he was rotating, I think, and even though we don't see him right now, still good. No Miracle Salesman, that one I'm sad about. And no Gold Panner. So we better have some card draw for Priest. We will get there. No Greedy Partner. So those are all some of, and lots of other things. No Whelp Wrangler, for example.
Yeah.
No
Magatha,
Drone Deconstructor. Magatha,
Tony.
Instrument Tech. That's huge for any sort of weapon deck. Pozic is out. So there's a lot of things that have been mainstays for a year or more. No Armor Vendor that will be leaving standard. But we are also getting a bunch of new cards, including a lot of changed cards. So some of the ones that are coming back in their same form, we have Cairn Bloodhoof, Chilma, Cornelius Rome, King Mukla, Lorewalker Cho.
Oh, King Mukla's buff.
Yeah, no, I think that's Yeah, no, there.
Oh, was he changed?
So there's
Very minor.
a little fun thing with this spreadsheet, which is why I was tearing my hair out yesterday, and I missed a couple. Like there are a number of cards that are dual class that were only added once, and I had to go add both of them in a second time. And then there are a bunch of cards that were both in classic and whatever they're calling what they moved into classic but changed them. That's there twice. So I've got both an added and added changed, but most of them are added and changed. But yeah, there's Cairn is buffed and Mukla is buffed. I think everything else on that list is pretty safe.
All right. So starting anew, we also have a lot of things being added to the neutral set. We have, for example, Octasari, which is the 8-mana 8/8 Death Rattle, draw 8 cards, which is always hilarious. We also have Cornelius Rome, speaking of draw.
I mean, you did ask for card draw and Priest.
I did. And speaking of card draw, I mean, yeah, Octasari is like the monkey's paw card draw, you know? Like, oh, you want a card draw? How about drawing basically card draw that allows your opponent to decide when to mill you? How about that? Is that what you wanted? We also have, though, the Curator, who is now 5 mana. That's Taunt, Battlecry, Draw, Beast, Dragon, and Murloc from your deck.
So excited about that.
They made him a mech at some point, which I don't think he was originally. I don't think that was that's not part of this change, but I think that was in another change that they made him a mech.
I am absolutely excited about the Curator. I loved that Paladin deck that he was in. He's a tutor, or he works well for Menagerie decks, which they seem to be kind of pushing because Menagerie Jug and Menagerie Mug, which you might remember from Battlegrounds, and then they were also like part of the adventure in One Night in Karazhan. Anyway, we now have, so Menagerie Mug is a 3-mana 3/3 Battlecry, give 3 random friendly minions of different minion types +1/+1. And Menagerie Jug is a 5-mana 3/3 Battlecry, give 3 random friendly minions of different minion types +3/+3. So you do have to have a board, but it is like +9 attack.
Yeah. Like the mug is like, oh, that's solid now. The jug, I'm like nervous. Like, we'll see what things are printed this year, but like, it gives me serious Fungal Mancer, Bone Mare kind of vibes, where it's just like, this could just, a little different because it's not any minion. It's just if you have different creature types. But if that ends up being a sort of low bar, which at the very least for something like Swarm Shaman seems like a low bar, because we're keeping a bunch of stuff there, right? In terms of the Murloc that summons a copy of itself, all the new Starship stuff, their mechs, and you've got beasts in certain things like yeah.
Is Needle Rock Totem I think is rotating, right? Yeah, that Needle Rock Totem is rotating at least.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's not in like the aggressive stuff.
Well, I mean,
anyways.
it's a totem,
sure, but you'd run
you'd run it in a Menagerie deck probably just because it's
I guess, but like you've got Turbulus, you've got Gorgonzormu, you've got like
we're gonna have dragons.
Yeah, and there's more stuff. So
yeah. We got Nether Spite Historian back, which was the Battlecry. If you're holding a dragon, discover a dragon. It's now a 2-mana 2/3, which I feel like it wasn't before.
It was a 1/3 before, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a 2-mana 1/3. It was basically just like it was the body was irrelevant. Now it's at least like a non-embarrassing body.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Wisp is an undead now. I just noticed this. It's a 0-mana 1/1 undead. But I mean, I love Menagerie stuff. They tend to be kind of hard to figure out how to build, but when they come together, I tend to find them really fun. But yeah, +9 attack charge is a lot.
And when they have a 5-mana Curator
to draw all their stuff. Yep. Prize Vendors coming. That's a Murloc, Battlecry, and Death Rattle. Each player draws a card. It is each player, but Priest might be desperate enough.
I don't think that's ever seen play. I mean, that's like Priest has been pretty desperate for card draw this year. I don't think they're gonna. I mean, I think that they're getting some things that are gonna make them a little less.
I mean, I expect to see some water packages, as it were. For those of you that recall
Oh God, water
from
rogue.
days
Yeah.
of yore. You run a deck and then include Finja plus, I guess Bluegill isn't coming, right? So they
No, yeah.
It
I mean, not having a charger does make a difference.
it's a
but
big
yeah.
deal. But you can still get like War Leader and stuff.
Yeah.
A prize vendor.
Yes.
Each player draws a card, which like if you're aggro is less of a downside.
I mean, we're gonna get more Murlocs almost certainly, and I mean, you can just like I don't know that you maybe not in Shaman because I don't think you want to be summoning the miniaturize or gigantify one, but there are probably Murlocs that you'll want to summon. So Finja, for those of you who don't remember, is 5 mana 2/4. He's going to be a 2/5, right?
He's now a 3/5.
A 3/5. So with stealth, whenever this attacks and kills a minion, summon 2 Murlocs from your deck. It was played a lot in Paladin because you had equality, so you could actually get it to kill something. But it was also just fine in other decks where you would just run good Murlocs and you'd have Murloc War Leader to get that out. And then
we'll
buff
get
everything.
to Paladin. Paladin also got a banger Murloc card back in core. Oh my goodness.
We also have here the Black Knight, who now has tradable. 4 mana 4/4, undead now. Tradable battle cry, destroy an enemy minion with taunt. If we get really desperate about Unkiliax, although Unkiliax still comes, it would need to like silence and destroy an enemy minion with taunt to like really counter Unkiliax. But he's there as tech, as if we really need the escape valve, as is Steam Cleaner is back as escape valve tech.
For all the asteroids and Incendii.
Yeah.
Yes. Destroy all cards in both players' decks that didn't start there, if you don't remember Steam Cleaner.
Yeah. And TNTs are going at least, but yeah.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. Yes. So that kind of does it for neutral, I think. So we can just go kind of start at the top here. Alphabetical order. So for Death Knight, some things that are leaving core. My gosh, the image won't load exactly where I need it to.
You can use the spreadsheet now. I fixed everything. So
Okay. All right. So what is leaving is the Scourge, Might of Menethil, Soul Stealer, Corpse Bride, Noxious Cadaver, and Plagued Grain. So the biggest deal there, I think, would be Soul Stealer.
yeah, Mind of Menethil's not nothing either. I think the Discover a Weapon card is leaving, right? Or is it not? I forget if or is that more recent? But Mind of Menethil is a card you would pick off that sometimes just to freeze the board.
Runes of Darkness, I believe, was the one where you discover it. That was Titans, so that is leaving as well.
Yeah. So maybe that's less relevant now that you're not discovering it, because you probably usually wouldn't put it in a deck, but you would pick that off of Runes of Darkness occasionally. But yeah, less important if you're not, because you don't ever run that in a deck. So
some of the things that are leaving from expansions that are notable are Mining Casualties, Reska, Staff of the Primus, and Helia, all of the Plague stuff. Primus and Yelling Yodeler. And CNE. And
Death Growl.
Cold Feet was only occasionally played, but whenever it was so annoying. Ma and Pa.
Hollow Hound too, but yeah, and all the Plague stuff. I think you said that, but all the Plague stuff is going.
And Quartzite Crusher. That's a big deal. So we won't see Plagues. We won't be Reska. Mining Casualties really means we're going to have something else for all those corpses and corpse decks, which might be part of why they had that new legendary. Some of the things that we are getting in core, there were those 2 new cards that we mentioned: Poison Breath, give a friendly undead poisonous, and Falric, you gain twice as many corpses. I'm just going to say as normal, even though it's not what it says. We're also getting Malignant Horror back, which was the reborn at the end of your turn, spend 4 corpses to summon a copy of this minion. So that is
love that one.
Something that spends corpses.
Yeah.
We have something that we do still have buff stuff for undead in because that was Whizbang's workshop, wasn't it?
Yeah, the hand buff stuff, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, and this was also a Twist All-Star Malignant Horror when we had the heroes metas.
Yes.
It's also just personally one of the more interesting things, because it it kind of fuels itself a little bit because you get corpses when the things die. And if you're able to give it any kind of interesting keywords or things or buff it up, right, it can do some serious work. So
yeah, it replaces itself. Yeah, because you spend 4 and then you get 4 back, so it replaces itself ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they can get big. It is a copy, right? So when it's buffed, it stays buffed. They can really get out of hand. And it has 4, it is 4 mana 2/4, but like if that's buffed at all, it can be hard to remove. So then they just can never be gotten rid of.
Especially because it has Reborn, so you have to kill it twice.
Yeah. And it has no runes, so it can be in any sort of deck. We also are getting back Tomb Guardians, 4 mana, double unholy spells, summon 2/2 zombies with taunt, spend 4 corpses to give them Reborn. We're getting Death Metal Knight, which is a double blood that costs health instead of mana if your hero was healed this turn. It's a taunt. And Death Chiller, after you cast a spell, deal 1 damage to 2 random enemies. That's double frost. So they gave us like a double unholy, a double blood, and a double frost. I don't think any of those saw tons of play. I feel like Tomb Guardians saw a little bit. But that is basically what is happening with Death Knight. I mean, all of the Death Knight, except for Zerg Death Knight, which is pretty much skating through. All of the Death Knight decks that we've seen this year are seeing big changes, mostly just from the expansion cards that are rotating out.
And I would expect that there's probably going to be some changes to the stuff that's not getting touched in the StarCraft decks, because they're not going to want the StarCraft decks to be what we're playing after rotation, right? Like they're not going to want that to be the best thing that we're able to do in Standard. So if like Zerg Death Knight really is coming through like completely untouched, and it's not, right? Because we're losing Yelling Yodeler and we're losing Death Growl.
Right.
So that's kind of a really big part of it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot harder to do Infestor things like you have before. But if it is still good enough, I'm sure they're going to nerf something to make sure that it's not like it's maybe playable, but not the best thing you can do in Standard.
Yeah. I noticed here also we are losing Chained Guardian, the sort of giant, which is more notable for evolved decks than anything else, because that was like the thing that you would evolve a 10-drop into is Chained Guardian, because it was guaranteed. No longer, because that was Titans with all of the plague stuff. All right. Well, we still have a bunch of classes. So next we have Demon Hunter. This only has 4 changes. So we are losing in core. We're losing Metamorphosis, Expendable Performers, Coordinated Strike, and Umberwing. 3 out of 4 really didn't see any play, so that makes sense. And we are getting Zai the Incredible. Battlecry, copy the left and rightmost cards in your hand. He's a 5 mana 6/4. Priestess of Fury, which was at the end of your turn, deal 6 damage randomly split among all enemies. She is a 7 mana 6/7 demon. Tusk Piercer is a weapon. 1 mana 1/2 Death Rattle, draw a Death Rattle minion. And Fell Rattler is a beast. 3 mana 3/2 rush, Death Rattle, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. So I wonder if they're going to try to go Death Rattle DH again?
Sure does look like it. I mean, Fell Rattler was the reason you played Death Rattle DH.
Well, and even if it's not a Death Rattle thing, just having a nice 1/2 weapon, breaks easy, that you can use to, tutor your stuff, is really, really nice, right? If you just have like 1 key Death Rattle, it's a pretty big deal. So very pleased to see that one. And also Priestess of Fury. The gloves stick around, yes or no?
The gloves do quick pick goes.
Okay. I mean, gloves into Priestess is solid.
Pretty good. Or gloves into Chopper into Priestess, more likely. Because like on the mini Chopper, Priestess is still fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's still going to do all that damage. It's just going to be a 1/1. So you're probably okay with that.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of damage off the mini, I think. Yeah, that's perfectly acceptable. Some of the things that we're losing for Demon Hunter, going down swinging, Glaive Tar through Fallen Flames, Taste of Chaos, Jotun, Argus. Sigil of Time, Blind Blind Eye Sharpshooter, Parched Desperado, Burning Heart Quick Pick is probably like the biggest single thing. Fan the Hammer, Load the Chamber, all of the Naga stuff, of course, because that was Badlands.
One thing I'm like kind of bummed not to see, I guess I don't know, it'll pan out, but it would have been cool to see, you know, for Demon Hunter, sorry, is the replay all your fell spells.
Jace?
Yeah.
No,
Jace.
no. That could stay in wild. That's fine.
Just
no.
something for late game Demon Hunter. I don't know.
Maybe that's what is Zaya supposed to do, like copy your shoppers or something.
Yes. I don't know.
No, Jace, like, let them print something else that's Jace, but like reasonable, but not Jace. Not again. No.
My hope is that not including Jace means that they have something else to sort of fill that role.
Yeah. I mean, the problem with Jace is it limits design space, right? Because there's only so many fell spells that you can print that don't do face damage if you're doing that, because otherwise it just becomes 30 from hand.
I think it could do both, right? It can limit design space, but it can also sort of take the lead on your approach, right? You can say, hey, we've got these ideas for some cool fell spells. We want to include a late game thing that'll go well with it, and we don't want to reinvent the wheel. Why don't we just put Jason core, right? Like, I think that can be a good use of core sometimes.
Yeah, that they usually, like, the stuff they're putting into core, they typically don't want, at least in the classes. I mean, sometimes they put the neutral legendaries in there like Leroy because they want them to be used. They don't necessarily expect the neutral legend or the class legendaries to see a lot of play, because then they outshine then they would outshine like the stuff they're printing for the expansions.
I guess.
So, like, I mean, if you look at like, you know, what we had last year, right? Like stuff like like that, or like, you know, Sylvanas or Justicar Trueheart or whatever, right? Like those are fine, but you shouldn't see them a lot, because then that means that like the stuff that they're printing is not as strong as core. And like, yeah, there needs to be a bit of a power reset, but not like that.
Side note, in the cinematic, we saw Sylvanas, not Banshee.
Ranger Sylvanas.
Yeah.
Ranger General Sylvanas.
I'm very excited. I think that the third expansion of the year, the timey-wimey one, could very easily be like one of my favorites. Just in the same vein as I really love Time Spiral block for Magic the Gathering. And it could get very wild. I'm sure there'll be lots of nostalgic stuff for me going back to like early Warcraft days. Yeah.
Hey, this would be the time, if we're following the Magic timeline, for them to introduce a new card frame. They did that with Time Spiral, right? Did they do like the or is that not? No, that was Future Sight. Is that a different expansion where they did like the fancy like curved frames?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't recall.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is not a Magic podcast. So we'll move on.
Even though I now have a commander deck, it is still not a Magic podcast. And I will note, I didn't list her in the neutrals leaving core, but Sylvanas did leave core, which makes room for a new Sylvanas.
Yeah.
All right, Druid. In core, Druid is losing Cenarius, Ancient of Lore, Lesser Jasper, Spellstone, and Druid of the Claw, none of which really has seen any play this year. And some of the other things that they're losing that have seen a lot of play from the expansions, we're losing Groovy Cat and Peaceful Piper and Spread the Word and that whole package. We're losing Drum Circle, which I know a lot of people didn't see a lot, but if you were in the same Discord as World 8, you were reminded every so often that Drum Circle is a card and still really good. Doomkin is going. We haven't seen it recently, but I'm not sad that we won't see it again. Even though it was it's not that good, and yet it's tilting anyway. No A&R, of course. No Frost Lotus Seedling or Embrace of Nature. Fi the Setting Sun is out, and all of the dragons from Badlands, Splish Splash Whelp, Desert Nest Matron, Cactus Construct is out, Pendant of Earth and Crystal Cluster, Trog Gem Tosser. So I'm missing things, but
yeah, the whole dragon package is going. The dragon package, the Highlander stuff, cultivation. So the treant stuff. So we had cultivation that went with Drum Circle. That's going. Lifebinder's Gift also, which is discounting all the spells in their hand. Or I don't know if this. No, it's Discover Nature spell, discount all the spells in their hand. And Blood Treant's also going, which is less important for Druid, though Druid did have some treant stuff, but also for Painlock. That's a significant loss as well. There's a lot of red. For those of you who aren't watching, who aren't looking at the spreadsheet, I color coded based on the impact. There's a lot of red in the Druid list.
Red means high impact.
Red means high impact, and good riddance to a lot of it. A lot of the stuff has been kind of oppressive for a while. So I'm sure that they'll get other oppressive stuff because that's what Druid does. But there's a lot of stuff that I think is good for us to not have to look at in Standard anymore.
There will still be plenty of ramp. We have this past set. But Frost Lotus Seedling, for example, is just so much armor. That did not used to be that way. That got buffed during a period when Druid wasn't doing as well. And then it never got unbuffed, and it was 10 armor. So, and
it is notable. It's not on these sheets, but also all of the gifts are going at rotation. So not only is Crystal Cluster going, but also Malfurion's Gift is going. So that's where they had access to Wild Growth, and they're not getting Wild Growth back.
And Splish Splash Whelp. So it's really kind of just New Heights. Well, something else besides New Heights?
For the next 15 minutes, yes.
For the next, yes. Until they print new cards.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
True. So in terms of what Druid is getting, Fandral Staghelm, your choose one cards and powers have both effects combined. He is a 4-mana 3/6. Vibrant Squirrel. I remember this card fondly. 1-mana 2/1 beast. Death Rattle. Shuffle 4 acorns into your deck. When drawn, summon a 2/1 squirrel.
It seems like a very Magesa card.
There's for that whole year, every so often there would be just a really cheap to craft, low to the ground token druid, and I was always down for the token druids with composting. Back when we had that card, that you'd make a big board, play composting, and that was your refill.
And the art is so adorable that you almost don't mind getting beaten in the head with it.
Almost. We also have Best in Shell, 6-mana tradable, summon 2/7 turtles with taunt, and the card with the saddest death sounds in the game, Flipper Friends, 5-mana nature spell. I feel like that used to be 6. It is now a 5-mana nature spell. Choose one, summon a 6/6 orca with taunt or 6 1/1 otters with rush. Yeah. Usually people would summon the 6 1/1 otters with rush. This was the same meta as the Scales of Onyxia card with all the
it sure
attack
was.
ones.
So
it sure was.
This one didn't get to shine as much because Scales
was so insane, but sometimes you would still run Flipper Friends just to have it was essentially AoE. Yeah, very flexible removal basically. Every once in a while you're like, all right, fine, I'll have a taunt, or if you have Fandral out, I guess you can have both, but mostly it's 6 pings that you get to direct.
Yeah. I mean that's 9 mana, but I guess that's like Tuesday for Druid, so that's fine.
Yeah. That's probably not, I mean, that's not the reason you're running Fandral for sure.
No.
If we're running Fandral. That makes me wonder if we have more choose one things coming. We know from some of the things that were in core last year when we did this exact same episode last year. Sometimes they put something in and then it's the end of the year and we still don't know why it was there. Shout out to Katrina Muerte.
Yeah, I was going to say her name is Katrina Muerte. Yeah.
Yep.
So it doesn't necessarily mean we'll have choose one synergy, but some, other times, like, they put things in because they clearly know that it's going to synergize with something that is coming. I'm hoping we don't get too much ramp for Druid, but I'm not, optimistic that we're not getting too much ramp for Druid.
The second expansion seems to be like the peak ramp expansion. That's when we got New Heights, right? And so I think that if they followed patterns, they might kind of take an expansion off and let us just have one expansion where we forget how oppressive Druid ramp is, so that we don't immediately recoil the next time that they print a ramp card.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, this next expansion is Into the Emerald Dream, which is druids and dragons. So druids got to have enough mana to play big dragons,
Yeah. I mean, Ysera will probably be neutral, I would imagine, given that she's the host of the figurehead or whatever the term is of the expansion.
Yeah, but how many times have they made expensive neutrals that are actually Druid cards?
Let me have this, okay? Just let me have this for a week.
Dungar being a big one.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, it was almost, when we were talking about Druid cards leaving, I almost said, and Dungar's staying. It's not technically a Druid card.
But it is kind of a Druid card.
It is, yeah.
But it would be nice to have one expansion where Druid has a little bit less ramp, and so it's not the only one playing with the big dragons. But we will see. Hunter in core is losing Dragonbane, Savannah Highmane, Lesser Emerald Spellstone, well, just all the Emerald Spellstones, and Kill Command, which is probably the main one that has seen play from core. And then losing a lot of stuff, of course, from Festival Titans and Badlands as well. So Barrel of Monkeys, Star Power, Hidden Meaning, that's a big one. Bunch of Bananas is a big one. Hollow Hound. So those are all of those are really impactful cards. The Hidden Meaning, we're also losing, of course, Titan Forge traps. So just the secrets in general.
And bait and switch too. Yeah.
And bait and switch. And the weapon, all of that secret synergy. But we won't have hunters staying alive merely through Titan Forge traps and nothing else anymore.
Yeah, and that's also going to be a big hit to Ragnari Scout in the Discover package, right? Because a lot of the times what they'll do is they'll discover off of the Titan Forge traps and then get more of the secrets. So that'll not happen as much. Or they'll get another Titan Forge traps off of, I don't think they do this as much, off of the Naga, right? And then they'll play the Titan Forge traps and they'll discover it off the Naga. They'll get another Titan Forge traps and they'll discover the secrets off the Titan Forge traps with the Ragnari Scout, and they'll just have secrets for days. So that at least is not going to be happening.
I was very pleased with myself playing around an ice trap earlier today for Exact Lethal, where I had an 8-mana Mothership. And if I played that and I got an Archon, I had another Archon in hand. I think. And this wasn't actually lethal, but it did win me the game because it kept me alive, and then I got the Archons for the next turn. And I had the 2-mana deal 3 spell discount, Photon Cannon. But I tested first with the 1-mana tradable salesman snake oil card. My brain just completely lost all ability to form.
Oh yeah,
so
that's going too. By the way, Miracle. We didn't even mention Miracle Salesman. That's going too. That was Showdown in the Badlands.
Yeah, Miracle Salesman is a huge hit to any. That was our premium 1-drop.
Yeah.
For a year and a half. So I'm hoping we get some new premium 1-drops. Because I think 1-drops like that, unless they're the Trog that copied itself and had to get nerfed because it was just completely insane. Because they're a 1-drop and they don't win the game by themselves, they don't get the same kind of negative sentiment around them that other popular cards are, but they just kind of tie together aggro decks. And I know I'm biased because I like aggro decks. But I liked Miracle Salesman a lot. But yes, in terms of Hunter, we won't have the secrets and Titan Force traps. Also, no Always a Bigger Jormungandr and no Grunter. So definitely no Grunter Hunter.
Yep.
If that deck is annoying you, you won't see it anymore. If you enjoy it, this is your chance to play it. In terms of what Hunter is getting, there's a legendary Varanus. I think I missed this card. This card, I've never seen this card before in my life. It is a 6-mana, 7/6 dragon, battlecry, change the health of all enemy minions to 1.
Yeah, it was in the same set as the 2-mana, as the breath stuff, right? So in Hunter, that breath was like, it 2-mana, deal 3 damage to a minion, and if you had a dragon in your hand, I want to say, then you also dealt 3 damage to their face.
Yeah, this was the Galakron expansion, right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
That is why I missed it. Yeah, I missed that one.
Descent of Dragons, yeah. That was the last BlizzCon before COVID. That's when that came out. So yeah, that was when like every class got a legendary dragon, because it was also the year of the dragon, and then everyone was like, well, why haven't we seen any dragons yet? And going into the third set, like, okay, here are your dragons. But,
yeah, this, I imagine dragons are probably coming, and that's what this is for.
This was a pretty good card in its time. I don't know how it's going to be now, but this was actually pretty well played, just as like, I mean, it was equality on a stick, right? I mean, it was one-sided equality on a stick. And then there also were things that would do 1 damage to the board. I don't remember what they were in Hunter at the time, but that would do it to be able to get through a big board. So this could, if the meta is right, I could see this making its way into decks, maybe.
Yeah, it doesn't help against the Zerg DK, but again, I don't think they'll let Zerg DK be the best thing to do. And I mean, we certainly see in Shaman that like deal 1 to the board repeatedly can be powerful, like with lock on and stuff like that. The probably most exciting, or well, in terms of dealing 1 damage, this doesn't do it to the board, but only to 1 minion. But Wound Prey is back. 1 mana, deal 1 damage. Summon a 1/1 hyena with Rush. But most excitingly, we are getting Mountain Bear.
Yeah, Sidisi was very excited today.
Yeah.
7 mana, 5/6 beast, taunt, death rattle, summon 2/4 cubs with taunt.
And
also,
we're
it's
not
cute
getting
art.
Shard of the Naru back, so yeah, enjoy that.
Hey, Priest we haven't gotten to Priest yet.
I know, but spoilers, but yeah.
And that, of course, is perfectly Sidisi's type of Hunter card, too, because it's a lot of stats, but it's very defensive, right? This is for a Hunter that's going.
This is a green priest. This is a green priest card, is what this is. Yes.
Yes. And if you want even more taunts, you can use Terror Scale Stalker, which is coming to core as well. 2 mana, 2/3 battlecry, trigger a friendly minion's death rattle. So we've lost Yelling Yodeler, but we do at least have now Terror Scale Stalker in Hunter only, not Death Knight. So that can get you 2 more 2/4 cubs with taunt, for example. I remember Mountain Bear being very annoying. If you didn't kill the Hunter
annoying.
before it came down, then you were gonna not have a good time. Hey, Mage. We are losing in core Stargazer Luna, who was kind of an exciting card to come in, but then never really saw much play. You would like generate her off a hidden meaning, and then that would be fun.
Yeah.
Babbling Book is out in favor of that Babbling Book case we talked about. Arcanologist, which draws a secret, and Shooting Star are the cards leaving core, none of which were that impactful this year. Impactful cards that are leaving from expansions, so like Infinitize the Maxitude, Star Power, Reverberations, that's a big one. Sif, of course. Void Scripture, Molten Rune, Wisdom of Norganon, and Norganon himself, not that he saw very much play. Volume Up, Audio Splitter, Costume Singer, Discovery of Magic. A lot of the elemental stuff is leaving.
Yeah.
So even though we had some elementals in the last expansion, there is the previous elementals was all Badlands.
Right.
So
yeah. This is what we found out when we were trying to build Elemental Mage in the preview brawl, is that the elementals that we really want to use are all from Badlands or Titans. Like Aqua Archivist is from Titans, and so was Tainted Remnant, right? So like those are the Aqua Archivist in particular is pretty big for, I think, Unchained Gladiator. That's one of the elementals too. That's the draw one, right? And so like those are pretty big for, Elemental Mage not running out of gas. And so that's going to be a pretty big blow to it. Mesa Dune leaving is less of an issue, but it's still another elemental that's going.
I will say it looks to be an extremely minion type focused year. I mean, I think that's why the Menagerie stuff is coming in. So I would not be surprised if there's considerable number of elementals coming, if not in Emerald Dream, the first expansion, then in the
Ungoro,
the next one.
I don't know what it's
Ungoro
called,
one.
but the Return to Ungoro, because that was a very elemental focused set.
Yeah.
That was the Lyra the Sun Shard expansion. Yeah. So like there were a lot of elementals in Ungoro.
And it just makes thematic sense that you would have like dinosaurs and elementals in Ungoro. So between the whole year, we should see a lot of things. And so then maybe we'll get back in Elemental Mage and actually get to do our fire elemental things. I know not that many people are playing Elemental Mage right now. It's one of the 2 decks that my husband plays. And it's the better one right now. So I'm going to have to tell him like, well, we're going to need to find you a new deck. But that is what happens for everyone on rotation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Welcome to rotation.
Yep. His first rotation. Mage is getting some fun stuff as well. So besides the Babbling Bookcase, which is add 2 random mage spells to your hand, we've got Violet Spellwing, 1 mana 2/1 Elemental Beast, Death Rattle, add an Arcane Missiles spell to your hand. I mean, that seems, especially if we do have any sort of elemental stuff going on later in the year, that seems just like...
Or we want to spam spells, right?
Solid.
Yeah.
We do have stuff that rewards spamming spells from this past standard year.
And it's 2/1.
And and it's a 2/1 now, so it's not embarrassing.
Yeah. It's great.
Not just completely negligible. That's actually a 1-drop body. And I really always love the like spamming spells mages, so I would love to see something like that be viable. In terms of secrets, we're getting Oasis Ally added, which was the when a friendly minion is attacked, summon a water elemental.
Okay.
And we're getting Archmage Antonitis at 7 mana, 5/7. Whenever you cast a spell, add a Firebell spell to your hand.
Speaking of spamming spells.
Speaking of spamming spells, I don't know that he'll be as powerful. I'm sure he won't be as powerful as he was like in his heyday.
I mean,
but
Sorcerer's Apprentice is not coming back, and even if she did, she's not aged well.
She got hit pretty hard with the nerf bat there. But if we really need some staying power, or if we get some new way to discount the fireballs, it is easy now, I think, to get lots of fireballs. The question is, do we want lots of fireballs?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. But Paladin got some great stuff added in, but first, is losing Lady Liadrin, which didn't really even see play in Libram Paladin when we were seeing Libram Paladin. Even though I'm sure that's kind of why she was added. We're losing Hammer of the Naru, Warhouse Trainer, and Stand Against Darkness. So a couple of the Silver
Hammer of the Naru was even in Standard. I completely forgot that was even a card.
Yeah, I think they're taking out some of the cards that were just completely non-entities, right? Yeah. Also, the Silverhand Recruit cards there, we didn't really see. More impactful cards from the sets that are leaving. Horn of the Windlord is a huge one. Boogie Down and all of that, Jiggerbug, Funkfin, Disco Mall, that whole package that we saw with the 1-drops that would then get buffed with the Divine Shields. I don't remember what we called that, but that's going. Amethyst is going. Keeper's Strength is going. And all the hand buff stuff like Muscletron is going. The Excavate stuff, of course, because that was Badlands, like Sir Finley. No Hi-Ho Silverwing, no Showdown, no Living Horizons, no Mining Casualties. Deputization Aura, although that had gotten nerfed.
We're not losing all the hand buff stuff because the Painter's Virtue was Bang's Workshop.
Oh,
so
we'll
still have some hand buff stuff, but we're not going to have, and they're not taking the gadgets and the 2-drop that buffs your hand. So it's really just It's just
Never.
Muscletron that we're losing, but we are also losing the charge minions, which is going to take a lot of teeth out of the hand buff deck.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Yes.
And Outfit Tailor?
Outfit Tailor's going, and Audio Medic is also going, which was another alternate source of lifesteal. So
I thought Outfit Tailor was
Oh no, maybe that's Whizbang.
Whizbang.
Yeah.
I think Outfit Tailor is
Outfit
Whizbang.
Tailor.
Been a
Yeah,
minute.
Outfit Tailor's staying.
Okay.
Yeah, but Audio Medic going means that there's really only just the plushie for the lifesteal, unless they add something else.
Right. Which they totally could.
They could.
Some of the, Hi-Ho Silverwing was great draw and tutor. Living Horizon, just really helpful, really for lots of Paladin decks, not just slower ones, because anything that just filled up its hand, it's just a lot of stats.
Yeah.
And we don't have that horn burst damage.
Did we say Amatus?
Yes.
Yeah.
And no more Amatus. Of
That's a
course,
big deal,
all
too.
the Titans.
Yeah.
Well, most of the Titans except Warriors are a big deal.
Yeah. Maybe Demon Hunter, but yeah.
Yeah. So, and Keeper Strength, of course, is a big clear. But if you need a clear, at least temporarily, you can now use Anachronos. At 7 mana, 8/8 dragon, Battlecry, send all other minions 2 turns into the future. This card was so nuts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was like,
and it's
are you going to develop on the other side or wait for your minions to come back? Right? Like created so many awkward things where it's like, well, my minions are gone for now. If I don't do anything, they'll be able to stabilize. But if I fill the board, then my minions don't come back. Like,
yeah. And it's doubly flavorful, right? Because it's both on theme for the Sarah expansion and on theme for the Chromie expansion.
mhm.
So
Yeah. And if we get some more sort of burst for Paladin, then you can just, kill them in your 2-turn reprieve. Or it can allow you to bridge to something bigger. It's a cool card. And of course, no death rattles trigger or anything like that, because they're just poofed into the future.
this is Reno Lone Ranger at home, basically.
And a dragon, and a little bit less annoying, if only because he's only on 1 class.
Yeah.
And not all of them. We also got some Murloc stuff. So, Underlight Angling Rod, 3 mana, 3/2 weapon. After your hero attacks, add a random Murloc to your hand. And what is a Murloc, but also more menagerie? We have Red Scale Dragon Tamer, 2 mana, 2/3 Murloc. Death Rattle, draw a dragon. So that can go in a dragon deck or a menagerie deck. Yeah.
I love that we have Angling Rod back. I mean, it's such a clear signal as well. I feel like that and Grunty. I mean, I still don't know if Grunty will make the cut, but like having, War Leader, Angling Rod, like, yeah, Dragon Tamer. I'm ready. I'm ready for Murloc and or Menagerie Paladin.
Yes. I don't know which expansion we like. Are there Murlocs in Ungoro?
I mean, there's always Murlocs.
Yeah, there's Murlocs all over the place.
Murlocs are everywhere.
Yeah.
I did learn that from my little bit of playing World of Warcraft.
They're like water. They just always get in,
Mhm.
I was a kid. I was really too young to be playing World of Warcraft, and I wanted to explore, but I didn't feel like bothering to level up first. So I would just run around in the water outside of areas and then kind of dip in to places that were way too high level for me. But I often ran into Murlocs doing this because they're in the water, and they were everywhere. I got through huge amounts of stuff. I also managed to jump off Teldrassil and land in the water, so not die, which I was extremely pleased with myself for having accomplished. But then I was stuck on like the opposite side of Teldrassil from anything, not dead. So I had to like slowly swim all the way around Teldrassil to the one thing that's on the bottom of Teldrassil so that I could like go somewhere. Because you can't just, at least at that time, I don't know how it is now, but you couldn't just fast travel from anywhere. So I had to swim. And it's not like I had a mount or something.
All I remember from trying to get the Liadrin portrait was trying to like float back to my corpse a lot.
Yeah.
That's all I remember from playing World of Warcraft.
That is a part of World of Warcraft.
I got nothing. I know I got the portrait. No idea what I did to do it.
we had fun. But I did not like join a guild, or like I would join a guild of like very casual people, and then I would be obsessed with it for like a month and then completely drop out for 3 months and then come back for like a month. So I was not a good guildmate at all. So I basically played solo and occasionally like pick up groups for dungeons. But that was just as well. I just thought it was fun to run around and almost like playground make believe in it with my brother. I was like 11, 12. I think my mom probably shouldn't have given us World of Warcraft. If only just because you're running into people with live chat, but I am not. It was
a simpler
scarred.
time. Yeah.
I survived. Well, we have Priest. We have very exciting things coming in, but first, real quick, what is leaving? Katrina Muerte. We'd still never found out what she was there for.
I wouldn't say we're missing her. Yeah.
No. Mana Geode, which never saw play even in Overheal. Crimson Clergy.
It's tough.
Which is tough. Now, I will say, on the one hand, he like single-handedly was the draw in a lot of priest decks for a lot of the year. On the other hand, I never liked when like he was our only draw because it was so feast or famine.
Yeah.
It was like, we can't add any extra draw because Crimson Clergy is insane. But then if you don't draw Clergy, you're just
you're done.
Yeah.
Hosed.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of a PG word for that.
Yeah.
We're losing, so I'm not too unhappy to see him, but it also shows that they're either not worrying so much about the overheal or maybe just going in a different direction. We might see new overheal cards.
I mean, yeah, like all the overheal stuff is pretty much going. Like Festival of Legends is when they first introduced it, and they said it was going to be kind of more of an evergreen keyword. I mean, we did get some stuff this year, but most of it's going, and it's pretty noticeable. So I don't know if they're just moving away from that or what, but I mean, it also could be that they don't, since they have the stuff from this year, they don't need to have the stuff in core to kind of seed it anymore, if that makes sense. So,
right.
Yeah.
If they're losing we're losing Hedonus and Dreamboat and Funnel Cake, even though that was nerfed, and Fan Club. So,
yeah.
That's
an Injured Hauler, not that
Injured Hauler,
even though it's been nerfed, it still was pretty significant in its time, stuff like that.
Heartthrob, Ambient Light Spawn, like all of the overheal stuff, pretty much.
And if the added cards are any indication, they're going in a different direction.
Maybe more Wicked's end of things. Yeah, which, I'll be okay. I had some really good aggressive decks all year, and Wicked's not had quite his style of deck anywhere near as much. We're losing Shadow Word Pain, we're losing Lesser Diamond Spellstone, which we didn't really see.
We didn't have anything to resurrect, so yeah, I mean, it was always a very weird core set, given what cards were printed. Like, again, a lot of the times you'll see, like we said, you'll see them add things like Lady Liadrin made sense in Paladin because we got Librams, right? We didn't use her, but you could have, right? Given that Librams were a thing and Lady Liadrin was part of the last Libram Paladin. Katrina Muerte resurrects undead. We didn't get any undead. We didn't get any resurrect things other than the things that they gave us in core. So it was, but I think they just kind of didn't really know what to do with Priest because last year's stuff, this stuff from last year was just so powerful that they couldn't really go in that direction anymore. So hopefully with the stuff rotating, they'll have some room for that. But yeah.
Yeah. We're losing all that one drop stuff that was really powerful. Of course, Thirsty Drifter, Pip the Potent. I mean, it wasn't like all the one drop stuff. One drop stuff was powerful, but Thirsty Drifter made up for it by himself.
Mm-hmm.
We're losing Love Everlasting. Power Chord Synchronize is huge. Deafen has come up a lot in this exact meta. And we're losing that, and we're not getting
Shard of the
Naru back.
Yeah.
So we just have that brochure as our silence, basically.
Yeah. Or Bob,
it's only
I
silence
guess.
half the time.
It's like,
or Bob.
Yeah.
A lot of people will not be sorry to hear that. I understand that. We're losing Gyreworm. Hidden Gem also on the overheal is going out. That was Badlands. Creation Protocol, and Amonthul. So a lot of the copy is out, there's still like copy of Protoss in Protoss Priest with hallucination, but that's very different than Synchronize.
It's very limited because it's specifically a Protoss. But Titans was the copy set that also had Raden. Not that he really saw any play even after they buffed him, but he was there. He helped. Also, Shadow Word Steel is going away. Nobody played it. We said nobody's going to play it, but if it still upsets you just by matter of its mere existence, it is going away. And I understand, and that's fine. It's also losing Shattered Reflections. Not that it ever had it, because Druid ruined it immediately.
But we are getting, and we're losing Holy Spring Water, which was occasionally used as a big heal. But we are getting another big heal, but that's not the most exciting thing that we're getting. Yeah. So from like least exciting to most exciting here, we might have different ideas. So
Depends,
Natalie Celine, 7 mana, 7/1.
Yeah.
Legendary Battlecry, destroy a minion and gain its health.
Yeah.
Kind of expensive.
It was an 8 mana 8/1. It's going down to a 7 mana 7/1. But to be clear, the minion gains the health, not the player.
Yes.
So, so you kill an 8/8 and it becomes now it would be a 7/8. Maybe it's 7 mana. It's a little bit better. 7 mana, kill a minion, summon a minion is okay. I mean, we play Bob, to steal it, but that's also not triggering a death rattle. I don't know if we have other cards that we play at 7 mana to destroy something, but okay, it's fine.
It seems like the kind of card that will see a significant play at lower tiers where people don't have as many cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the kind of point, so that's fine.
Yeah.
That is one major point of core. Greater Healing Potion, a card that many people in the Discord did not remember had existed, unless you played Control Priest back in the day. 4 mana Holy Spell, restore 12 health to a friendly character, but now it also says draw a card.
So we might actually play it because that's how desperate we are for card draw in Priest. But I remember playing this in Control Priest back in the day. This was Mean Streets of Gadgetzan, and I only played one, and that didn't make it less embarrassing. But that was something that you played because now you just get that from playing Grifta for 1 mana. So, whatever. But I mean, if you have draw a card tacked onto it, it might legitimately be playable just because of the fact that it says draw a card.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not costing you card advantage just to restore 12 health to yourself.
And it's not always dead, right? Like there are some matchups where you're just like sitting at 30 and it's like, well, I have this card that heals me for 12 that I can't do any with. At least you could cycle it, right?
Well, and then there's other matchups where it just wins you the game because 12 life is too much healing, right? Like there are some burn decks, like the Zealot Priest. If you clear their board and then have Greater Healing Potion, like, okay, game over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if this is enough to save you and actually matter, because a lot of times these decks are killing from 30. So if 12 health is enough to make a difference and save you in a game, I will be very happy with that meta. So,
I mean, it does seem like that is a meta that they're going more towards in terms of having burn that's not OTK, for better or for worse, is something that seems like on average they're heading more towards. Of course, there's always, whenever they say like this is our design philosophy, like that not every card is going to match what they say. Like that's always a risk of giving here's our design philosophy post.
Yeah. But at least we're having Priest having a legitimate heal card that isn't outclassed by something that Paladin or Death Knight or like Hunter is doing. So
the card that I am most excited about is Power Word Shield. And it's not there was a briefly like a 0 mana Power Word Shield that didn't draw. This one draws. It is 1 mana Holy Spell, give a minion +2 health, draw a card.
Yeah.
Yep. It's
That's
some cycle.
Fine. You play it. You just play that. It's fine.
Keeps your early board alive.
Mm-hmm.
Play that with Orbital Halo. So, okay, Orbital Halo is an insane card.
Totally nuts.
But here's the thing. If that's your opening hand, if you have that opener that I had today, where it was like healer, coin, healer, Orbital Halo, that was my hand. I'm reliant on top decking my cycle. At least Power Word Shield is the cycle in and of itself and keeps your early board alive. But Wicked, tell us about the cards that you were excited about here.
So, I'm so happy. So Light Shower Elemental. Oh my god. It's been too long. So Light Shower Elemental is a 6-mana 6/6 elemental with taunt. Death Rattle, restore 8 health to all friendly characters. Shoot it right into my veins. I miss this card so much, especially when we had when we had resurrect effects. Oh, so good. So good.
Priest, you were so happy to see that.
Oh, it was the best.
That was your
Quest
6
Priest.
drop.
That was the 6 drop, and that was all you cared about. And his buddy in that deck was Spirit Guide, who we're also getting back. And Spirit Guide, I think we're this is getting buffed, and I don't remember off the top of my head how it's getting buffed, but this was 5 mana 5/5 undead with taunt, death rattle, draw a holy spell and a shadow spell. So again, card drawn priest, yeah, it's targeted, but you run holy spells and you run shadow spells, and that's just things that you're doing. So it's not going to work in every single deck, but that's fine, right? It shouldn't necessarily, but in a deck where you're running holy spells and shadow spells and you want a 5/5 taunt, this is fantastic.
Wait, Spirit's Guide's not getting buffed.
Oh, it's not getting buffed? Maybe I was thinking of something else. Yeah.
It is still 5 mana 5/5 taunt, death rattle, draw, which is
it's
good.
enough. That's enough.
That's fine.
Yeah.
The fact that they're both death rattles makes me wonder if we're getting some sort of death rattle stuff at some point for priest.
Yeah, or resurrect stuff, right?
It's
legitimate resurrect
likely
stuff.
Yeah. I enjoyed these cards also. These are the perfect intersection of current Megasa and baby Megasa, especially Spirit Guide. But I can enjoy a slower deck every once in a while. It is true.
Yeah. But I mean, even if you're really hard up for card draw, I mean, Spirit Guide is 5 mana 5/5 taunt, draw 2 eventually. Right? Which is fine. You'll play that. Even in an aggressive deck, if you have to play that for card draw, you're not excited about it, but you're not really broken up about it if that's the top of your curve. It's not like it costs 8 or whatever. It's 5 mana. And
it's a respectable body.
Yeah.
With taunt, so it affects
you're not embarrassed, right? So, yeah. And if there's any way to resurrect it or, get copies of it or whatever, then it seems like we're moving away from the copying, which is probably good. But just being able to get this or get it back, it's a good card.
Oh man, these would be so good with Amanthul. Just copy them.
Oh yeah, they should, or Creation Protocol or Power Chord Synchronize or let's move on.
All right, Rogue. We are losing Flick Sky Shiv. Destroy a minion and all copies of it wherever they are. Every once in a while, I would see this card and I'd be like, really? And of course, if you see it played, it's always because it is specifically making your life difficult.
Yeah. I got it off an Amanthul once and it was sick in that match. I don't remember what it did, but it was disgusting. But that's the only time I've actually seen it was generated off an Amanthul.
That would be really satisfying to do against a whole bird of Zerglings.
Yeah, that might have been what I did. I don't remember. But whatever I did, it was good. Yeah.
We're also losing Felderai Strider, Spectral Cutlass, Elven Minstrel.
Yeah. Spectral Cutlass can die in a fire. That card just first it's Burgle Rogue and it's just I know we didn't see it much, but every time we saw it, it was the worst. The worst from Parks and Rec GIF, the worst, right? But and I know it's not good, but I'm just don't give people more incentive to want to play Burgle cards. Just get out. Fine. Good. Go away.
I've got some bad news for you.
Look, just let me have this.
For 2 seconds.
Just let me have this for 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Okay?
And lastly, we are losing Sap, which was played against me once the other day. And I was like, we're hard running Sap? What is this? I guess because it was against Terran Shaman Starships before the Fizzle nerf, I think was what it was. And it was this thing is much more useless in your hand because it's all on launch, not Battlecry.
Mm.
But I was still surprised to see it. Some stuff that we're losing from Rogue from sets, breakdance.
Oh, good.
Some of the weapon Rogue stuff like harmonic hip hop and mic drop. Deafen, all of the mech Rogue things, Mimiron, Lab Constructor, Pit Stop, Coppertail Snoop, Spider spelled in with threes and stuff like that. From the scrap heap, Gear Shift is out, Tarslick is out, Velarok Windblade is out, so you can be happy for a little longer.
Thank
yes.
goodness. Oh, my prayers have been answered. That's a card they would have put back into core too. Like, just to spite me. Like, I could see Hat just like in the core set discussions, like, hey, you know what Steve would hate?
It seems like they're trying to get rid of a bunch of charge, though. So
that's true.
Yeah.
That is a charge minion, and on top of it, so yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
All the excavate stuff too is going.
All the excavate stuff. No Drilly the Kid. No stick up because that's quick draw.
Mm-hmm.
The stick up is like a huge like one card find an answer to whatever.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
so
it's such a
that's
small
gone.
pool.
Yeah, and almost all of it is removal. So like you can find what you need. No quick pick. Yeah, those I think would be the main things that are
Tough
leaving.
Crowd is going,
Rogue.
which is not so much relevant for Rogue as it is for Demon Hunter not being able to get that off of Shopper anymore. Because sometimes you would use that to bounce something, just because it was a demon. But yeah, that's not really the use case for it. But yeah, a lot of the weapons Rogue stuff's going, the mech Rogue stuff's going, the excavate Urkel stuff is going. So
Yeah. I mean, that's some of that, like Tarslick and Gear Shift, are just like utility cards we see in a lot of Rogue decks. So we'll have to see.
And
what
even
they get
Pit
from
Stop
there,
just
but-
for targeted draw for a mech. Like we'd see that to get Ziliax occasionally.
Yeah.
So not having that is probably a good thing. And also if Wishing Well's going also. So again, that was a meme deck, but it was annoying as hell when it happened. So that's also going away.
Yes, you will never. I mean, I doubt you would
Let's-
never see it in Wild because it was a meme deck in Standard.
They're making room for new ways for me to get annoyed. That's all that it is. I'm not going to get my hopes up that we're going to have like a meta without Burgle, but maybe we get a little bit of a reprieve for like a couple of months, maybe if we're lucky.
And part of why we might think we're not going to have a metal without Burgle is some of the cards being added to core. So, for example, we have Shaku the Collector. 3-mana legendary 2/4 stealth. Whenever this attacks, add a random card to your hand from your opponent's class.
Yep. Used to be a 2/3, now it's a 2/4.
Yeah.
That does help a lot, because that's a big AoE breakpoint.
Particularly for a
3 to
stealth
4.
minion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, because it's stealth, like, it's most likely to die to AoE.
I mean,
So,
yeah, it's no Velarok, but it's, you don't have to activate a condition to make it function. And, yeah, it's it's a solid turn 3 play.
And finally, when I finally have a reason to want to run Serenity, it's just in time for it to rotate.
you would also, well, Serenity wouldn't save you from Undercity Huckster. 2-mana 2/3 Death Rattle, get a random card from your opponent's class.
Buy one!
And we have Shadow Step on a Stick, aka Waggle Pick. 4-mana 4/2 Death Rattle, return a random friendly minion to your hand. It costs 2 less. Now it is a random friendly minion, so that's very different than Shadow Step itself. But 4-mana 4/2 weapons are still 8 damage.
And if you only have one minion on board, then you hit 100% of the time. So
yep.
Okay, so were you playing when the Waggle Pick deck was a thing?
I was not. I
you
think
would've
that was in my
liked it,
break.
I think. Yeah.
So, yeah, it was pretty silly.
It was a rough time. Was it a 3-mana when didn't it get nerfed to 4?
No.
Or was it always 4?
No, because it was just an age of 4-mana 4/2 weapons.
I
no,
feel like
the
it came
one
out-
that was
it came out earlier
3
than
was
that.
Hooked Scimitar. So you had
yeah.
what I referred to as Four Swords Rogue, because you had double hooked scimitar and double waggle pick. And this was at the time of lackeys, right? So you could bounce lackeys, you could bounce, Heisper and Togwaggle?
Probably.
Yeah.
That sounds like a thing that we would have done back then. Yeah.
And you also had...
I don't even remember what you were
It's
bumping.
in core,
It must have been.
it's
It must
in
have been
core
like,
right now. The 4-cost mosquito deal.
oh yeah, the life drinker.
Yeah, life drinker. So
And you were bouncing Leroy with that too, weren't you? Or is that
you
am I getting that
could.
mixed up?
But I feel like maybe like Leroy got rotated out partway through, and then we were just bouncing life drinker, and that was nuts. Maybe I'm misremembering that. Regardless, I know bouncing life drinker a lot was a thing.
Yeah.
That sounds like something that I heard about, but I didn't. I was not playing during the lackeys,
And
also during Galacrond.
Yeah. And then this had I think we still have it in core, the one that like draws 2 pirates and a weapon with combo.
Yep.
That's staying in core, right?
That's staying, yeah.
So you can do that. You can go relive your salad days of Four Swords Rogue.
We also have a little bit of combo stuff here. Defias Ringleader, 2-mana 3/2 combo, summon a 2/1 Defias Bandit. But more importantly, Foxy Fraud. You may remember this from Garrote Rogue fame. 2-mana 3/2 Battlecry. Your next combo card this turn costs 2 less.
Yep.
Yeah.
At a minimum, it's a 0-mana 3/2. At a max, and that activates a combo card for essentially free.
Yeah. I've never seen this flavor text. His other street con involves a druid. He can't pull it off without a plant. That's a good flavor text right there for a card that I hate with all of my soul. But yes.
I didn't have bad memories of Garrote Rogue because at that time I wasn't playing at high enough ranks that my opponents knew how to pilot it properly. So every time that I ran into it, I would just play like normal and wait for them to mess it up. Like I would just be like, I'm not worrying about what you're doing. I'm just like tabbing away during your turn, and I'm just gonna wait for you to like not get your combo off correctly.
Yeah.
So it was just entertaining to hear about on the BS report because it was like I wasn't affected by it because almost never did they actually pull it off. If they did pull it off, I was like, oh, I'm impressed. Good for you. You deserve to win that game. And to be clear, I didn't play it because I knew I was going to mess it up. Like, I'm not saying, oh, I was better than that. That's like, no, I was definitely not.
I definitely tried. I think I was playing THL then, so I tried and failed repeatedly. And then I decided that was not a deck I was bringing to THL because that would have been a very bad idea. Even being on a team with Hat, that was not going to happen.
Yeah, there is an element in the tournament of like, bring a deck that you perform well with, not necessarily whatever the top deck is in win rate on the meta report. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't even play like most of the Sonya Rogues. So, yeah, Garrote Rogue, no. Yeah. But you don't have to have a Garrote Rogue for Foxy Fraud to be a good card.
Yeah. You just have to play combo cards, which Rogue is inclined to do occasionally. So
we do have some combo stuff that hasn't seen a ton of play, but there are combo cards from the recent expansions that maybe with a little more combo support would see play.
Yeah. And if we start getting anything that cares about how many cards you play in a turn again,
right?
And yeah, that's when Foxy Frog comes out to play. So
yes, because that's essentially a free card in the turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Shaman has the bigger core set change. So we're losing Calamos, Overdraft, Thing from Below, Muck Pools. That's a big one. Air Elemental, Spirit Claws, and Ancestral Knowledge.
Spirit Claws and Ancestral Knowledge, I think, are the big ones here for the most part. Or I guess, well, Overdraft we weren't really using. Muck Pools is big too. But yeah, Ancestral Knowledge was seen in a lot of the Overload decks and Spirit Claws, especially with with them returning the spell damage totem, has seen some play, and I mean not a lot, but enough that it's kind of a relevant change. Though I mean the decks that are doing this right now are not particularly concerned with spell damage; they're just concerned with flooding the board. So
and in terms of things, that Shaman is losing, they're keeping a lot of stuff that's powerful. And I think Shaman is still going to be powerful, but we are losing Horn of the Windlord, Backstage Bouncer. Those are both big. Jam Session, Golganeth, Trusty Companion, Needle Rock Totem, Cactus Cutter, Aftershocks, Flow Rider for elemental decks. Doc Holiday,
the
Altered
Nature
Chord,
Shaman
Jive
package.
Insects. Yeah. Jive Insect. And a lot of the Overload package that was from Festival, like Inza, all of that stuff. But in terms of like cards that are played right now, Golg, Turn the Tides, Horn of the Windlord. Like that Turn the Tides plus Horn of the Windlord that we just saw a bunch over the past couple years.
Backstage Bouncer's played now too. Yeah.
Backstage Bouncer, that was a card that I feel like some people in our Discord were up on before suddenly the world realized that's just like 2 4/5s. You just turn your totem into a 4/5 taunt and you have another one. It's pretty good.
Yep.
And Cactus Cutter's kind of a big deal too. Like that's a card that kind of flies under the radar, but that's kind of it is kind of connective tissue for a lot of the Swarm Shamans right now because it draws you a card, sometimes gets you a taunt, and it's getting the spells out of your deck. It's
true.
Also pretty relevant for like Asteroid Shaman, just being able to get another draw out of it's specifically a spell. So that's another one that's going to be it doesn't get quite the same attention as the other cards because that's usually not the card that's killing you, but it is really helping just to grease the wheels on those decks a lot, and I think it's kind of underappreciated how much work that card does.
Yeah, no, there's a reason it doesn't get cut, and there's a reason why you even sometimes just play it on too. Yeah, the 3/4 taunt is great, but it's not always necessary. We're losing Crash of Thunder, Lightning Reflexes, Flash of Lightning. Not that was seeing play anymore, but Clark won't be able to make that work anymore in Standard. He made it work so many more times than I thought was possible. So, credit where credit is due on that.
Muck Pools also means that like the big Shaman was not really going to be quite as doable. I mean, we're also losing Kolagarn, which doesn't help there. Yeah. And Walking
Mountain.
Yeah. So like a lot of the big Shaman package is going as part of that. I mean, you're still going to have Cliff Diving, but you're not going to have like the stuff that you're trying to pull out. I'm sure they'll print other big stuff, but not this particular stuff, and not with the ability to be able to evolve it on demand.
Yeah. I could see maybe there'll be some dragons we want to cliff dive or something like that.
Yeah.
In terms of what Shaman is getting, so they had lost 7 things from core, so we're getting 7 things back. Kragwa the Frog.
Oh, man.
Which is
such a stupid card. It's such a stupid card, but it's fun when it works.
I love it so much. I'm excited.
If you're not familiar with this card, it is a 6-mana 4/6 beast. Battlecry. Return all spells you played last turn to your hand.
It's like Sasquatch, but worse.
I mean, that's basically the tagline for Rastakan's Rumble, which is where this card is from. So
that's why I don't recognize it. I'm just like, I'm just still hung up on the art here.
Yeah. So
it's like
this was Zentimo's buddy.
I see.
So Zentimo was the troll from Rastakan's Rumble for Shaman. Kragwa was the Loa. And yeah, I mean, there were times that you could get like spam a whole bunch of spells and then fill your hand up. Usually you get like 2 or 3 spells and you'd be happy with it because like you really have to time it right. And also the spells have to not overload you so you can actually play Kragwa, which is sometimes a challenge.
Yeah, or like a worse Mista Vista.
Yeah.
But with cooler art. It's like a house-sized frog.
Yeah.
That's attacking people and also has like fringe around its eyes that looks like some really intense eyelashes. Anyway, I stopped getting distracted by this. We're also getting Earth Elemental, which is now a 5-mana 7/9 taunt overload 2.
Yeah. So it's just getting one extra toughness, but that helps when you're paying 7 mana for a taunt. Give it the 9 health. Let it be decent.
let it have that. We are losing Scar and a lot of the elemental stuff for like an elemental shaman, but we're getting Earth Elemental, and maybe we'll have more elemental stuff in Ongoru for shaman. That would make sense. We're getting Jinyu Water Speaker, Battlecry, Restore 6 health, Overload 1.
Yeah.
It's a 4 mana, 4/6.
This is another twist. Yeah, this is another twist all-star from the Wonders meta. Like this is it's actually really it plays a lot better than it sounds. Because that just basically brings another big minion back up to full health, or it just gives you a big heal, and the Overload 1 doesn't hurt you that much. And it being a 4 mana 4/6 is just, that's a body. This is a pretty good card that I think we'll probably see a little bit of play.
It used to be a 3/6, like on print. But,
Yeah.
Yep.
Inflation. Yeah.
Yep.
We're getting Blazing Invocation. Discover a Battlecry minion. It costs 1 less.
Yeah.
Again, updated for the times, right? Like you didn't used to give the discount, but now we get discounts when we discover things.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, because we can't possibly pay extra for the discover.
Yeah. Can't get taxed for your discoveries.
Well, I mean, it's making it so that you're not paying for, like, you're not paying a premium, right? Like, you're still paying the full price for the minion. If you're just it's discounts by 1, right?
Yeah.
So
you're
just
paying full price for the minion, just not.
Yeah. You're getting refunded for the price of the spell that you're using to discover it, which is, I mean, fine. If you're spending a card in your deck to discover a minion as opposed to play it, then at least you shouldn't be paying extra for the minion when you end up playing it anyway. So I don't hate that.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I was more joking, but the fact that you're spending the card in your deck on it is really the cost. Yeah.
Yeah.
We also have Voltaic Burst, summon 2 1/1 sparks with Rush, Overload 1. It is a nature spell. Makes me wonder if we are getting some new Overload stuff. They just rotated out a lot of the old stuff. But Marsh Spawn, another elemental. Battlecry, if you cast a spell last turn, discover a spell. That's a 3 mana 3/4. That's kind of interesting because, like, it's an elemental, but the elementals usually you want to play an elemental every turn. And this is like, no, we want you to also be playing other cards.
Yeah. This was played a little bit. I don't remember why. But I do remember playing this at the time. This was Ashes of Outland this came out. And I remember this being like decent. I mean, it's probably not good enough now, but maybe it is. Maybe in a 4-set meta where Discover's a lot better, this could see more play.
And we also have Wailing Vapor, 1 mana 1/3. After you play an elemental, gain 1 attack. So that definitely suggests an elemental angle.
Yeah.
Again, Angora. So.
Yeah. And I remember Wailing Vapor, like, if you do have an elemental shaman deck, then Wailing Vapor just obviously goes into it. Okay. But I'm sure shaman will continue to be powerful, even though it is losing some important pieces to the specific decks it has, but it still has, like, all the Demon Hunter stuff. It still has all of Terran Shaman stuff. I'm sure it will still be powerful. Okay, Warlock. Warlock is losing from Core, Archvillain Rafam, Twisting Nether, and Defile. Defile being probably the biggest deal here. Losing Amethyst Spellstone, Bloodbound Imp, and Voidwalker.
And it's also losing Twisting Nether out of the gift, too. I mean, not that was really played a lot, but the gift was pretty much all removal. So that's also additional removal that Warlock's losing from Gift of Gul'dan also.
Yeah, so Warlock is a little lighter in the AoE department, depending, of course, on what they get from the set. But Defile is a pretty big deal, because that is a card that saw a fair bit of play. And then some of the things, I'm just taking a look here on the site on kind of what AoE we're going to be keeping. I think we still have Hellfire.
And there's like
not
another one that does
greatest.
like 5 damage or something that nobody plays.
There's Table Flip. There's Black Hole.
Table Flip's there, and Domino Effect's also there.
Yes. That's probably the biggest stuff. Black Hole, if we're playing Demon Warlock, destroy all minions except demons. It's your I mean, we don't have Twisting Nether, we do have that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no like mortal eradications, right? No reverberations for sure. no crescendo. Not that that was getting played anymore.
Oh, there's fine print. Deal 4 damage to all minions. Excess damage hits your hero. That's a card that got printed.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Other stuff that Warlock is losing. Yeah, so, and Symphony of Sins could be AoE. We're losing that.
Yep.
Losing Felstring Harp and all of the Fatigue Warlock stuff. No Sargeras, no Forge of Wills. Forge of Wills is huge for current location Warlock. No Popgar, no Trolley Problem, no Elementium Geode, Fracking, or Trog Gem Tosser. No Loken. Loken is also part of that location Warlock that we have right now.
Reverberations too.
Reverberations is huge, yeah.
Especially,
it's just such a flexible card.
Losing with Defile, it's the 1-2 punch, but like Reverberations was a big deal, being able to get rid of things, and that's going is going to be also a big deal. So it's losing a lot of AoE. Yeah.
Which makes me wonder if they're going for... Yeah, it makes me wonder kind of what direction we're going for, if we're going a little bit more Zulaki.
Yeah.
Or what the plan is here. We also, of course, lose all the Sledge stuff because that was Badlands.
Yeah. And that's also going, like, losing the fatigue stuff also hurts Painlock to some extent. Not so much, but that's another option that they're going to. I think they keep a lot of the stuff that they wanted to have other than Blood Treants going. But I don't remember if they played the fatigue cards or not, but that's like the Baritone Imp and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we're supposed to just summon a ton of demons instead of holding back and getting just a few near the end. I don't know. Maybe we will find out. But in terms of things that we're getting in core, we're getting the Solarium. For 1 mana shadow spell, draw 3 cards. They are temporary. This is the same as how it worked before. It's just now there's a keyword for discard them at the end of turn. And that keyword is temporary. So it just says they are temporary. But the card, if I remember Solarium correctly, is the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still the same thing. It's still they changed it on the site, but it used to say like they're any that aren't played or discarded at the end of the turn. That's basically temporary. We just didn't have the keyword for it at the time. So.
Well, discard used to be important because of synergies.
Yeah.
Right? And then it was too good and wild, so they had to make it say temporary instead.
No, that is still how it works. It still does discard them.
Oh, it does?
Temporary are discarded, yeah.
I'm
pretty sure I saw Hat say that in the Coin Concede Discord today.
No, I misremembered.
Yeah, I think they changed other stuff to make discard Warlock not as powerful, but I don't think they changed Solarium for that. I think it's still discards.
Temporary specifically says discarded at the end of your turn in the tool text. It seems like Solarium is, I'm digging for, I need something now, especially if you're not playing like a late game value deck where like you're going to get totally messed up if you discard your Sargeras, which is no longer a card in your deck. So,
yeah, or you really care about discard. Generally it's because you really cared about discard is most of the time when you would play it.
Yeah, so maybe we're getting some discard.
Or if you need to dig, or if you just need to get through your entire deck as quickly as possible, right? That's the other reason you might do that, especially because you're not going to be able to tap with impunity without Felstring Harp anymore. So being able to draw 3 and just get them out of your deck if you need to get down to the bottom of your deck for some reason. We're losing Venatum, and I think I think that was the last reason. I guess you still have Wheel of Death. So if you need to get through your deck for Wheel of Death, then maybe you're going to do that, or to be able to play a Kill Jaden. There's reasons to want to burst draw even if you're losing the cards.
Mm-hmm.
Other cards that we're getting for Warlock, Despicable Dreadlord, 5 mana 4/6 demon. At the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. Vulgar Homunculus, 2 mana 2/4 demon. Taunt Battlecry, deal 2 damage to your hero.
And more Painlock support, so yeah.
Yeah. /Zooish. Dark Peddler. I remember this card. Battlecry, discover a 1-cost card. It is a 2 mana 2/3 undead these days.
Yeah, I think that was buffed in the Caverns of Time thing for a while.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Fiendish Servant. 1 mana 2/1 demon. Death Rattle. Give this minion's attack to a random friendly minion. I don't know if we have any hand buff right now in Warlock. That's definitely, or like much buff we have in general. But if we have buffing for demons, then potentially. And then Demonic Assault, 4 mana, spell spell, deal 3 damage, summon 2 1/3 Voidwalkers with taunt.
I mean, I guess the servant could be good with like the Menagerie Mug and Jug, right? Because you're buffing things with types on it, and then that dies and it gives its attack to something else. So if you're doing Menagerie things, maybe that's something you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe. Warlock gets demons and undeads pretty easily.
Yeah.
You'd have to figure out how to get the rest of it, but there are generally the problem with Menagerie decks is not like finding enough types, but just like which one of this type do I run?
Well, I'm not saying it's a problem to find the type, but like if the jug is the mug and the jug are specifically buffing one of each type, and then that gives its attack to something else, and that's a reason to want to run it, right?
Yeah. All right, and finally, Warrior. So Warrior is losing Bladestorm. Oh my gosh, that card! I'm kind of happy about that because Bladestorm. I always forget to play around it. We're losing Town Crier. That one's kind of a big deal because people would like use that to tutor Ziliax, for example. It's just kind of a powerful tutor, draw a rush minion from your deck. We're losing Whirlwind, Frightened Flunky, and Deathwing Mad Aspect.
I forgot that was in Standard.
So did I.
I knew because I've gotten it from Amanthul before.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, it didn't see play, so we won't miss it. When I was a kid, I remember I was mad at my brother one day, and I thought, I am going to get really subtle revenge on him. I'm going to steal one of his Beanie Babies that's not one of his favorites, but it'll just, so he won't notice right away, but it'll just be missing from his life.
Well, that's diabolical, actually.
But the thing is, he never noticed at all, ever. So like 3 years later, I'm cleaning my room and I'm like, oh, hey, I have your Beanie Baby because I was mad at you. And he's like, oh, okay then. That's sad. He got more diabolical stuff up on me. But anyway, that is what losing Deathwing Mad Aspect is like here. Less mean than it seems. All right. So some things that we're losing for Warrior. The Titan set had a lot of stuff, and so Odin gone, of course. Trial by Fire, Stoneskin Armor, or Stoneskin Armorer, I think.
Yeah.
Craftsman Hammer, Bellowing Flame, Sanitize, Boom Boss. That's Showdown in the Badlands, but Aftershocks and Needle Rock Totem again. No Black Rock and Roll anymore. Not that was getting played very much.
Sad.
I know.
Yeah.
Khazgroth, the one green Titan. Green meaning low impact.
He tried his best. We're losing the Rifts too, which is not as relevant now, but that was a big deal.
Yeah. Not
too long ago.
Yeah. And some of the Menagerie stuff.
Brand's going away.
Bran is gone. Boom Boss is gone. They can't hurt you anymore.
Badlands Brawler.
A lot of their control tools, yeah.
Yeah. Steam Guardian, which drew the fire spell. Again, that's not as relevant now, but that was pretty big in its time.
I mean, give me Rush or Enrage Warrior again. Like,
please.
Pretty please.
Fire and Rage Warrior.
I mean, they're giving us Menagerie cards. Are we keeping the Menagerie draw thing? I forget.
No, we are losing Roaring Applause and Power Slider.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
I mean, it's worth remembering that going into Titans, people were like clamoring for Control Warrior and were like upset, like legitimately upset that there hadn't been a Control Warrior for like several sets.
And then
that was definitely like, we're talking about Monkey's Paw stuff. Like that was a Monkey's Paw, but like that, let's just remember where we were before Titans came out, because like we're seeing all this stuff here. And it's like, we have had this for so long that we've forgotten what it's like to not have Bellowing Flames and Sanitize and Trial by Fire and Aftershocks and stuff like that. This has been kind of a glory days for Control Warrior. and they're about to lose a lot of it.
Yeah. And I mean, Odin was a cool design, a cool card. And a lot of people really like Control Warrior, but yeah, we've had some very powerful cards for quite a while. In terms of things that Warrior is getting, Bulwark of Azeroth, legendary weapon.
Speaking of control tools.
Yeah. Speaking of control tools, we are getting if you're a Control Warrior fan, you are getting this one. Whenever your hero would take damage, this loses 1 durability instead.
Yeah.
So of course it can be not very useful if they have an arcane missiles, but it can be very useful if they're just trying to kill you, like with, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like a Protoss Mage Colossus, but there's lots of a big minion or
It's trying to hit you with one big thing. Like this thing is this is a card. I this might not be good enough to see play, but I will be pretty surprised if it doesn't. Because this was a pretty big keystone of Control Warrior back in its time, and we're losing a lot of good Control Warrior tools. I mean, not that we really are hurting for armor right now with, with starships and whatever. Like, you can get plenty of armor, but this just nullifies 4 hits. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Particularly for combo.
Divine Shield is a big deal, and this is 4 Divine Shields, basically.
Yeah, that's effectively what it is.
Yeah. We're also, and speaking of Enrage Warrior, we're getting Bloodhoof Brave and Ravaging Ghoul. Ravaging Ghoul is Whirlwind on a stick.
The Ghoul, I'm curious about because I feel like it's been back before and not impactful. Bloodhoof Brave, similarly.
Yeah.
But Hook Fist with the Menagerie stuff actually has me quite intrigued because for Menagerie stuff, like obviously amalgams are great. Also double types, right? So Hook Fist, I believe, is a mech pirate.
It is.
Yes.
So those are great for just like filling in gaps. And the effect is solid. Like as long as you're consistently having a weapon going, even if it's Fiery War Axe on 2, and then you swing and get a card and 4 armor. Like that's phenomenal.
Yeah. That's a great curve.
What weapons do we have right now? Like, you're not swinging with Bulwark of Azeroth. That's not a weapon you swing with. But like,
that is I'm desperate. If you swing with that.
Because I guess we have the boom wrench, right? So
there's the Draenei weapon.
Oh yeah, after your hero attacks, give all Draenei in your hand.
So if you go like a Draenei dip in an amalgam deck. I
forgot Draenei cards existed. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. Remix Tuning Fork is going away. Battle Pickaxe is going away.
Yeah, that was an Excavate card.
The Rye Cleaver is probably not what we're doing.
Yeah, and Ignis is going away too, which is the other way that Warrior would get weapons a lot.
But maybe if you had Fiery War Axe and Crystalline Great Mace because you had some Draenei.
Yeah.
In your deck.
I'm sure they'll give us other weapons. Like if they're I'm not going to say because they're giving us Hook Fist, they're going to give us more weapons, but Warrior will get weapons.
Warrior does tend to get weapons. They're losing a few, so they're due for some more.
Yeah.
And lastly, a card that I did play when this card existed. I just didn't remember it. That there's a card called I Know a Guy.
Oh yeah.
That discovers a taunt minion and gives it +1/+2. I just think that's great flavor. Anyway,
yeah.
They always push the taunt warrior thing, and I feel like 75% of the time, at least, when they push taunt warrior, it doesn't pan out. But
well,
maybe it will.
This was not played in Gadgetzan, but when they buffed it in Caverns of Time, it did actually see quite a bit of play.
Yeah, I mean, 1 mana
in Twist specifically.
Yeah, so maybe it will see play.
Yeah,
but that is all 11 classes.
We did it.
We went through everything. So starting next week, we will have new cards and new stuff to talk about.
Yep.
It's going to be a lot of news for a while.
Yeah. The cycle has begun.
It's an exciting time.
It is an exciting time.
It's an exciting time when we have rotation and, we get to kind of say goodbye to some of the things that we liked playing or we didn't like playing or we didn't like playing against. And, we get to get a whole new meta, which is the one time a year that we really get a completely new meta. So, well, mostly, unless there's something impressive that sticks around, which sometimes happens. But we'll see. This is one of the best times of year, and then we'll see where things go from here. But what we've been saying is we've been kind of waiting for this for a while, just because like the cards that were printed were really powerful, and like we just went through all of them, and like even some of the ones that aren't seeing play now are still really powerful because they've been outshined, right? So
getting rid of Titans is like just that is super transformational.
Yeah. The Titans were kind of like the Colossus when they rotated. Right? Just powerful in most of the classes, and you would just play it in all kinds of decks.
Well, we have many folks we'd like to thank. Check out our thanks section on the website at concede.com, and you can also find our contact info, our show notes, and our Patreon information. You can monetarily support our show at patreon.com/coinconcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.coinconcede.com. Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com. And write into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Blue Sky at coinconcede. And if you'd like some CC swag, head on over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. So, Coin Concedes. What you got?
I'll coin concede to the professor of graduate school class that I'm taking because, like, she does... Well, I will say, her class is like 3 times more work than any other class in this program. But she also probably puts in like 5 times more work than any other professor in this program. And I am definitely learning a lot in it. But so much, like, she really reads and responds to every single discussion post and like every single quiz answer when we have to write about it, she responds to it. Of course, then she asks like these long questions. So I literally, I think I looked down and went, oh no, it's 1,000 words. So I just put, and this is incomplete, and just hit submit. It's like, I'm so sorry that I'm making you read this. But it's a very informative class, and I appreciate all the work that she puts in, because certainly when I became a teacher, I learned like the downside of assigning lots of writing is that you then must read all of it. Especially when you have a big class of students. So, but people have interesting things to say, and the discussions, I'm actually like spending more time on it than I'm required to, which is nice. And in online classes, usually that is not the case. So, yeah, it's been a fun class.
Nice. Wicked?
Well, I'm going to coin concede to Lorinda because I was snowed in this morning, which meant I got to work from home, which meant I got to stop into their stream for the first time in a while, and they were playing Zerg Warlock and said, okay, I guess I'm going to play Tanya now. And I put 2 and 2 together, and I said, are you calling Kerrigan Tanya because of the figure skaters? And they said, yeah, you're the first person or second person in 3 weeks to figure out that association, which mildly terrified me. That my brain is also working on that wavelength. And then I asked, well, why wouldn't you just call her Nancy? And he's like, well, and they said, well, that would be too easy. Like, okay. I So anyway, I had fun in their stream today, and that is a good enough reason to coin concede to them. So
nice.
Even if they are a deranged individual, and this is coming from someone who knows well. So yeah.
Well, I'm going to coin concede to TJ because finally one of us is doing the esports thing. He's been involved with esports before, but not in a long time. So, very, very excited to see what he's able to do with the program, what they're going to let him do, how he's going to be able to sort of prove the capacity of Hearthstone for marketing the game. Yeah, and selfishly, I think it also means that there shouldn't be any more mix-ups, and I should consistently have casting work. But
God willing, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, coin concede to TJ.
Well, that's going to do it for us for this week. So until next time, keep calm, and we'll see you for the new expansion next week. And if you see us on ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
life must end. I yield for now. I concede. Well fought. I concede.
You win this one.
The victory is yours.
You have bested him.
I give up.
You win this one, friend. You win this time. I choose death.
Welcome to episode 483 of Coin and Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is... wait. It's 484. All right, take two. there was one digit different, listeners, but of course I just thought right along. All right. Welcome to episode 484 of Coin and Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is Thursday, February 6th, 2025 in the evening.
No, it's not.
Oh, we're
Sorry,
doing
I missed that
great.
too. Sorry. Everything else should be fine.
Off to a wonderful start. This is the kind of content that you patrons pay for.
Okay.
All right.
I just wanted to make sure they get their money's worth this week.
Yep. And they also get it like 3-4 days earlier.
Yeah.